Today's podcast is brought to you by Carrick's Audio and Audible, audibly acceptable audiobooks. Right now, you can get over 100,000 million books through the Carrick's Audio Bookstore. New York Times classics like I Married a Werewolf, Teen Bruisers, What Is This Dark Spot, Why Can't I Pull Off My Own Face, and the classic award-winning self-help book, How to Staple Your Mouth Shut by... Here is just a small sample of the audio quality that you can expect. He flicked the hair out of his face, the sweat beading off of it, his weight pressed down on her, his lithe form finding comfort in her curves. There was a sensuous quality to her body he couldn't get enough of. He slipped her bra off smoothly and tossed it onto the hard concrete floor. Bill patted the old Corvette with one hand. That's it, baby. Let me know all your secrets. An entire world is waiting for you. Just download them on the go to your Android or that one company that fucking hates headphones, so they remove the port completely. Listen on the go. Pretend you're busy so you don't have to engage with others in society. And that's right, you can do it all from the comfort of your little safety cocoon of sound, you goddamned introverts. It's best if you also don't make eye contact and beat your head like you're cooler than everyone else is. Just $19.99 a month plus taxes and fees and VAT times 2, or our subscription service that's only $19.99 a month plus VATs and fees and service times 2. And allowing our tracking cookies, you can have instant access to all that you desire when it comes to the audio realm. So join Carrick's Audio and Audible audibly acceptable audiobooks now for when your eyes are just too fucking lazy to move side to side. And remember, you can't cancel at any time. Carrick's Audio and Audible audibly acceptable audiobooks. Let's just stop moving as a species, you fatties. Today's podcast is brought to you by Carrick's Audio and Audible audibly acceptable audiobooks. Right now, you can get over 100,000 million books through the Carrick's Audio Bookstore. New York Times classics like I Married a Werewolf, Teen Bruisers, What Is This Dark Spot, Why Can't I Pull Off My Own Face, and the classic award-winning self-help book, How to Staple Your Mouth Shut by... Here is just a small sample of the audio quality that you can expect. He flicked the hair out of his face, the sweat beading off of it, his weight pressed down on her. Why should you join the ACG YouTube membership? Listen, it helps the channel. Sure, I could pretend that some company's pre-built PC is awesome, even if it just accidentally happens to be that I got it from them in the last 3 weeks. You don't want that. I could also open up an OnlyFans, which just mean naked eating Uncrustables and rubbing my beard against the mic. No one wants that either, because it'd be terrifying. For $5, you can become a YouTube member. I'd probably save you that by warning you away from Alakind's gun, or maybe Gene Rain, or maybe you watch the reviews. I don't know why, because they suck, but maybe you do. If you join now, we don't have to worry about those things. You also get access to the Patreon when it comes to the Discord. So become a YouTube member now, before I start having to put surprise oral sex looking thumbnails on my reviews. And trust me, no one else wants that. So power up with ACG. Besides, it's for sure better than those POS earbuds YouTubers try to sell you. What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for the best gaming podcast. 584.
Welcome back.
584. Man, that's a weird number to even say out loud. That is absolutely crazy.
Are we doing something special for 600?
I don't
We're
do
both
anything
coming
special
in with
for
a
any of them.
tuxedo. No.
Nope. I'm sorry. I am a killjoy on that, but I feel like I'm going to talk to you about this in a second. But I feel like if I plan on anything, it fails. Like in that kind of celebratory stuff. My life has proven to me that explore and be excited about what occurs. But if I try anything, birthdays, Christmases, whatever, it gets inevitably
We got to do it
crushed.
spontaneously then. No
Yeah,
planning.
we got to do it, but not plan on doing it, but plan to not do it, which involves the plan to do it. So we should say, like,
Meta planning.
what if we were gonna do Christmas, then maybe blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
And we would go from there. No. So listen, I ended up I got like 4 or 5 games, and I actually ran the metrics on this. When I tell Discord or patrons what I'm going to cover, inevitably 77% of the time there's an issue. When I do not tell the Discord or patron that I'm going to cover a specific game, 92% of all games and reviews are done on time. I have no clue why.
So it's almost a quantum effect.
It's a
of
quantum
like
effect.
Observing it.
Dude, and
Yeah.
you should have seen what happened. Like, I was in one game and it crashed right in the middle. And I was like, okay, I have a day or so I'm going to deal with the developers. That day went by. Then I was like, oh, damn. Another day went by. Then I was eating into Pragmata. And I was like, okay, I can either shit or get off the pot. I'm invested in this, which was replaced. I'm going to go ahead and sit with replace because Pragmata will get its energy. It's Capcom. And released will get probably ignored or somewhat ignored. Never got fixed. Complete crash. Couldn't even move forward in the game. So I'm like, okay, so I missed out on 2 videos. I was like, and 2 things I told the Discord I'd do. So then I go to Cthulhu Cosmic Abyss and I start really having fun. And I'm like, dude, this is cool. This is cool, man. I'm really enjoying this. 16 hours in, I've been playing, I've been testing. I'm like, man, you know, there's some issues for sure. Don't know how I'm going to review it yet, but I'm pretty excited about what I'm playing. My speakers go off, blue screen. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Because it was during a load. I was like, that's really weird. That's like a particular issue that most likely is Windows. You know, it's Windows. So I reboot. I go back in and check everything. No errors, scan now. Go in, load up the game. And it loads me to 45 minutes having been played. And I'm like...
So your entire save pretty much gone.
Yeah, to 45 minutes. And I'm like, wait, what just happened? So I turn it off and I go into my save files and my save files are backed up. So I back up the save files I make 100% of the time just in case a save file goes bad. Here's the problem with liking a game. I had never turned off the game because I was enjoying the game. And during that entire time, it was corrupting saves. The game was corrupting saves. The first save, 7 megs.
Oh my God.
The 23rd save or so, 1 meg. Now, the moment I saw that, I was like, I'm screwed. There's no game that makes the save game smaller. It's not happening. It's never happened. I've never seen it happen. Yeah. It's for sure screwed.
It's just broken.
Yeah. So that was the third one. And it was late. It was late. I was like, oh, I'm going to play this. I might even play it a second time, you know, blah, blah, blah. And late that night. Yeah. And that was even worse, dude, because I only saw that it was causing issues because of the crash. I mean, I would have found out before the review went because I would have went and loaded some stuff up, but I was just enjoying the game. I was doing crazy stuff. I was looking at textures. I was like, oh man, this is really cool. I like this investigative scene. You know, I sort of dig this. I left it open a couple times when I went and got some food because I also love to listen to the music for the review. But yep, so all 3 videos kiboshed, like just like that. It was
because you pretty much have to play the game to completion, right? You never review.
Oh, I could have done a previews,
completed.
But I didn't even have all the footage of a later level or later levels because I still had a couple hours. It wasn't going to take me 16 hours to beat it. I was playing it. I was enjoying it. Like the actual playtime is much shorter, but I was enjoying it. I mean, how would I even know if the ending was good, or how would I know if? I mean,
yeah,
like there's a ton of. I could have done early impressions or something, but then what do I do? Because why would it matter? I just, on my early impressions, I'd be like, well, I think you're going to have a good time, but it's been corrupting saves since 1 hour in. I don't even know how to cover that. At that point, you're just like, okay. So what I did was I waited till, you know, it's the embargo. You can't tell anybody. So once the embargo went up, I was like, hey, just so everybody knows, I couldn't get this to work, couldn't get saves to work. I posted that, and within 5 minutes, 2 other reviewers were like, I couldn't even get the game to boot. So I was up. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So the life and times, weird.
Cthulhu himself cursed your games.
He took a dump on it, man. He was like, "Hey, dude, I got a way to dump on your weekend. 3 different videos. It was crazy, man. It was just one of those times where you're like, damn, didn't expect that. Did yours go better? Did your weekend go better? I'm gonna fix my contract.
Yeah, mine went pretty well. Work and everything went pretty much as well as it could have gone, actually. And I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy with games coming out. Very excited for stuff like Pragmata came out today. It's definitely up my alley with the setting and stuff. And gonna play that. I just played like a couple hours because I didn't have time today, and it was only coming out today. But excited for that. Kind of taking a break from Crimson Desert, which I'm kind of like burnt out on a little bit. But that's okay. There's a lot of other stuff to play that I'm excited for. So yeah, just a good time overall.
I mean, it's, you said it because we're talking and explaining it, but like, I don't even think like stuff like that even needs to be explained or described. Like you're done playing the game. It feels like everybody's so nervous about even talking about something. Not that you are. I'm literally just talking about what you see in the zeitgeist. But you see people talking, and it's like, oh, but
and I don't know if forever done, but like definitely needing a break.
Yeah, but I'm saying that even having to say that is what's weird. Because if you look 10, maybe less than 10 years ago, you wouldn't have to say that. You wouldn't even have to preface anything. Like, you wouldn't even have to I didn't like, let's say you hated Expedition 33. You would have probably had to back that up because, that was a pretty big game of the year. But it wouldn't be with the backup now to where you're not even getting to the point to where you say hate. You're like, yeah, this game I spent 160 hours on.
You need all these caveats.
Yeah, you need these caveats. It's weird. That's why I hate giving. I just don't give them. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Like, you can get as mad as you want, but it's definitely something I've noticed, because we had it yesterday in the Discord. 3 different people said the same thing you did, and they all prefaced the starting as if they were They were like, and I'm not saying this is on purpose. It's just a part of our vocabulary, like the word "but," or it's just, now it's there.
Yeah, we're all getting pretty defensive, just anticipating the punches,
Yeah. Or just sometimes not wanting it. You and I've talked about it. You be in, maybe not in here, but you'll be in like a Twitter, or you'll be on Discord or whatever. You'll be talking, and sometimes you just want to say, sometimes you're like, this is good. Like you want the caveman post. This good, this bad. And you don't want to hear somebody say, well, actually, and talk about the breakdown of something. You want to do that at other times, but you don't always want to do it. And of course, nobody knows. Not even in real life would they know that. But with all the discussion, I was talking about it with one of my friends, because he was getting really burned out on discussion. And I was like, I think you're burned out on discussion, man, because the amount you're having is 7,000 gillion times what a human brain is accustomed to, because there's no chance DNA and all of the way our brains work is going to change as quick as technology's worked, especially in the last 20 years. So you have people who, like myself, woke up one day, no internet, no nothing, and then 2 or 3 decades later, you have up to 1 million people telling you what they think of every single thing you say. And it's like,
our brains are not ready for all that,
man. Brain ain't ready. It's completely not ready. And you can tell. People were saying, oh, your brain isn't ready, as if it's a now thing. And I flatly don't believe that. I think the brain is really, really good at dying slowly. So when somebody said, oh, you would hear psychologists, oh, this is too much for the human brain to handle. We're seeing these signs. And I'm like, dude, those are not the signs you need to worry about, because we'll never fix them. You need to worry about what happens in 5 years when the people who are robust are having that issue. Because that really means we're and it feels like even the people I know who are robust, I saw a little thing that yesterday that said like 40% of the game industry has at some point in the last year thought about leaving the industry due to toxicity and layoffs and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, damn, just like absolutely insane. So you see all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's definitely something that, I know they're looking into, but it's like, how's a scientist going to be able to figure out a way to you have to be in control of you. You have to sort of cut your, in some way cut your social media off, which seems like, or even Discord.
Yeah.
Stepping away from Discord, maybe,
Yeah. Sometimes I also think I use that when there's a bit of a shock, when I compare how people are experiencing something versus how I'm experiencing it. I tend to feel like it's also my bad in a way. Maybe I'm not like in the right mindset for that game, that experience or something. Because to me, the way people talk about, for example, combat in Crimson Desert is not the same as how I perceive it. I perceive it to be very cumbersome, not very responsive, with annoying boss designs, and gets quite repetitive when you have to kill like 100 dudes for a single mission, and you're using like the same few combos over and over. I'm assuming some of that is like user error, where maybe I'm not expanding into as many combos as I could, or, playing in a more dynamic, fun way. I'm attributing it to that because so many people did enjoy it a lot. Fighting Cowboy, really enjoyed it. Like, a lot of people really dug it. And for me, it's really only the exploration that's carrying it. Does a great job. It's an awesome part of the game. So when I see that disconnect between how people are talking about it and how I experience it, I think, like Occam's razor, the simplest answer has to be that it's on my side, which is fine. I think in that case, it's okay for me to kind of move on, at least for a while, and play something else.
No, I would agree with everything you said. Like, especially, I was even talking about it, right when it came out, the boss design was definitely one of the game's weak spots. There's some cool bosses. They're most bipedal, though. That fits the game world, except for some of the things that you're going against. Combat is not smooth. It's not. It reminds me much closer of Dragon's Dogma at times, as smooth as, but then also less smooth as. I haven't seen that many people who say it's smooth. I've seen people say they like it regardless. I don't think there's maybe as much as a difference as you're seeing, or at least from the people I've talked to, including normal gamers. Most of the gamers I've talked to, I've never heard any, and this is honest truth, I've never heard anybody in our chat say, this is amazing combat, ever.
Like super high enjoyment for the combat.
No. It's been more like, this is pretty good. And because there isn't a ton of stuff to do, you sort of gravitate towards what you like. And the combo system ain't great. I mean, it's not. It's got issues with how it handles button inputs. Like, it's almost whenever you're editing in Premiere, you have the ability to drag two files over each other and fade. And you can fade too far to one side. And so you have a quick from one to the other, and you sort of want to smooth, unless you're trying to emotionally resonate with the second part of the second video you're cutting to, where you do a shortcut. But yeah, that's all real. It's not, dude. I've yet to hear anybody be like, boy, that's super smooth, amazing combat, especially the longer you play it, because there are, and remember, what you played versus what you may play in a month may change, because the developers even agree with you, because the developers are adding moves to the secondary characters so that you can get that spread. So yeah, I haven't heard any of that. But I do agree with you, so we'll say that you and I agree on this, and it seems like a lot of people do, but I do understand where you're coming from, where you may come into a room and be like,
I'm the odd man out in a way. Yeah.
I usually take it as it's on me if I can't see anything and it's not technical. Then I'm like, okay, it's on me, as in I dislike whatever this generic thing is. But if there's technical issues, or there are issues where I'm like, you can see right there, and those crept up on me, man, I have no issue being like, I mean, unless you're nerds, you shouldn't even be like, you're wrong. Like, that's a weird discussion to have. That, that'd be like sitting down at Red Robin and being like, hey, Crimson Desert, yes or no? No? Give me another server right now, motherfucker. Like, that would be so weird. So
unsubscribe.
I'm unsubscribing for you. Give her a thumbs down on her badge, like the Orville episode. But I usually it never pops up, but if it does, it's more like just everybody discussing and popping back and forth on it. But I'm glad it's doing well. Crimson Desert sold like 5 million or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was
massive,
burned out.
Probably biggest release this year.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think so. Numbers.
Maybe Resident Evil is up there. I haven't checked.
Are we
the
talking
latest.
About just numbers, or are we talking about like?
I was thinking sales.
I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know.
I haven't
because
checked.
They're so hard to compare if one only comes out on one system. So I don't know.
That is true.
But I'm happy. Like, regardless, it gives competition and also comparison for people. It also, frankly, is an amazing counterpoint that even the developers who made it, and you look at what they do, and you look at what some of these other companies, we won't mention their names, do, and it's really nice to see how these different companies are sort of cribbing from one another and their ideas, because there's a shit ton of Ubisoft in that game. And it's funny because when you look at these different titles, whether it be even Pragmata, look at Pragmata. There's a ton of Death Stranding in Pragmata. Dude, if you were like step away just for a second and look at Pragmata, you'd be like, is that another? It involves the carrying of the kid. It involves just the overall look of everything, especially inside of mechanical areas. And now later in the game, it doesn't look like that, or it changes it up. But it is crazy how there's so much cribbing from each other, which I don't have an issue with, but we see it all this week. We saw it. I think Replaced was the only one I can say didn't feel like it cribbed from anybody. A 2D polygon pixel, cyberpunkish exploration fighting game. Like, I mean, even Cthulhu, which I tried to review, but even Cosmic Abyss cribbed from probably 40 or 50 games. I mean, there was nothing original in it, but together it felt unique. Does that make sense? And I think that's the thing is I think unique, original, and innovative get mixed up. I don't need it to be original, but if you put them together to feel unique, that's awesome. So
and that could feel innovative even if it isn't technically.
Go. Yep. But it's not
because it could feel fresh.
Right? Here we go with language. Yeah. I love it.
Because it's the same with music, where you could have the same chord sequence, but it just sounds fresh.
Can I just say fuck Ed Sheeran, too, for doing that? Fuck that guy. Did you see the video where he does? Yeah, every song is the same point. I'm like, oh, come on, man.
Because it kind of breaks your
it breaks
illusion of diversity.
It's like you see through the Matrix a little bit. You're like,
yep.
But Pragmata did really well, got really good reviews. Or I consider Pragmata to have got better reviews than I expected. I'll say that. Not because I was wondering about it, but just its time of release and the oddity in which it was played. I had somebody who, once the reviews went out, was like, it had him. I don't know if that's a spoiler. I'm not going to say anything. It's emotional. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I heard that from quite a lot of people.
Okay, cool.
Like, maybe not the story, but just like the dynamic between the characters resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it came out of nowhere in a weird way. I know it didn't when you consider like when the trailer dropped, but what I mean by that is it's a new IP out of the blue. Yes, it cribs from stuff, but it did sort of come out of nowhere. And it also released without very much hype at all. I mean, even though we knew it was coming, there was so many games coming that it was easy to just be like, oh, wow, Pragmata's coming.
I feel like the hype for it was similar to trying to recall that other Souls game that was like a more of a side title that came out around the same time as Neo, the anime one.
Oh, with the weird long name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember, but like illuminating.
How am I blanking on it?
Tagahashi, it was whatever. But I know
it was a second part to that game. It's like Anime Souls.
Gotcha. Okay.
Part 2.
Yeah,
I'm blanking on the name. Someone in chat will correct me. But anyway, as a point of comparison, the level of hype I feel was more akin to that, like more of a side title versus a spotlight. And after the reviews and everything, it seems like it's landing very well in the kind of, top games that have come out with, good performance, good presentation.
Yeah.
Code Vein, thank you. Yeah. And overall, it's really cool to see, man, because the previews looked a little rough. There was a lot of trouble with the hair going on, and they've patched that up a lot. It looks pretty damn good most of the time. You still get the weirdness sometimes.
Resident Evil had a shit ton of weirdness on his hair too. Hair is difficult. No matter what post-processing you do is going to look odd. So that's just sort of the way it is. But yeah, it did good. Happy for it. Probably don't think I'll get a chance to play. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll watch a video of that one because the story is generally the same. Maybe there's a choice at the ending, which would also be cool. Because I'm already working on another game, which is unfortunate. I definitely had wanted to.
The machine doesn't stop. You got to keep.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. keep
It
going.
doesn't stop at all. And that's what sucks is like there's very few games like Replaced. I would have liked to have kept playing Cthulhu. In fact, all three of those games, weirdly enough, it is like feels like three that I really want to play. So
yeah. Also,
I also
Capcom
don't have a ton of money. I mean, that's like $120,
right?
To throw down,
right? Because you always say you end up buying the game,
right? But even here, I wouldn't be doing I wouldn't even be doing a video. I would just be playing the game, and it's like, damn, it's hard to. Right now, it's pretty tight.
Yeah.
It's hard to like figure out what you want to buy for everybody, let alone don't get RAM. What were you going to say though? You're going to say something.
Capcom now has an amazing collection of games in recent releases.
Yep.
And like you said, new IP
doing well
out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Very, albeit familiar from other games, not so much so from Capcom. Feels like a very fresh and different project for Capcom to take on, and for it to work out as well as it did. I think it's very cool to see. They've been really some of the most consistent in the whole like ecosystem with their releases. Even Monster Hunter Wilds maybe didn't blow up the world, but was like a fun, solid title.
Well, I mean, it did Monster Hunter style numbers, I'm sure. Maybe not as much as World, but it's like at that point, all you're waiting for is Capcom to have a miss, which I think Neo 3 or not Neo 3, because I always get that mixed up. I think the last one I remember was I think Devil May Cry, the last one I played, the one with young Danzig.
5 was very good.
Yeah, but I don't think its sales were. Whatever the last one I played, I don't think so. I could be wrong on that, but I thought when we all looked at Capcom, we were like, "Oh, that's not as good as I had thought." So, but I can't remember. Young Danzig. That could be. I liked it. That was the one where Reg played it all the way through on the easy mode, and it said,
it's like cinematic mode.
Yeah, you are playing easy mode, which I love. Let's see. Moving on from there, Metro. So there was like sort of an event and there was some Metro stuff shown. I don't know. There's a lot of CGI at the starting. So we got through that. It's Metro. They did say it's returning to a darker story or something like that. I'm like, dude, seriously? At what point do you have to dig under the ground to get darker than you're already at, right? Like, how do you get lower than where it's pretty dark on its own? But I do like Metro. I think they have a different feel than obviously because people will compare them Stalker. One's more of that shooter with survival bits and the other's a survival game with better shooting, you hope. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'll play it for sure. They have a different feel. I'm really excited for Atomic Heart, their new stuff. They dropped a DLC this week, Atomic Heart.
Yeah, like the fourth one. It's crazy.
Dude, that's crazy, man. It's crazy to think they did 4 DLCs for that game. So exciting. Yeah. Wizard of Smoke, $5. Happy Friday, friendo. Sorry, Replace broke for you. Oh, I thought he said sorry, Replace broke for me too. I was like, Replace broke for you. The art style's 10/10. I love the first 2 hours. I might wait for patches now to finish. Yeah, Replace looks, I mean, I liked Replaced a lot. It's a different style of game, but it blows up into something that you almost never see that kind of 2D game do cities right or larger areas with people in it and stuff like that. And yeah, they did a really good job. But with Metro, are you a Metro freak fan?
No, I really appreciate what they did with the games, which is like setting up the atmosphere, getting you really immersed with what's going on. I'm not particularly a big fan of the sort of Russian style of everything. Doesn't speak to me as much as some other people I know. But yeah, I love what they do. It's always very immersive to play those games.
Yeah.
To the point where you need to pay attention to a lot of stuff compared to other games. Yeah. Even stuff like looking for something you need to interact with. You won't get like a silhouette or a highlight. You have to really kind of look and see, within the scenery and everything. A lot of it requires a lot of attention from you, but then it pays back because you're very immersed and paying attention to everything. Interesting to see what they do with a new one, because I felt the third Metro game, Exodus, took it in a slightly different direction. You know, they definitely exploring stuff with the train kind of hub thought process, and then also some of those segments were quite different without going into detail there. But I'm curious to see if they try to do something significantly different than what they've done so far. If it's going to be more so like a full open world, or what they're thinking about.
You know what I'd rather have, man? I'd rather, I mean, listen, it's their version of Call of Duty, or at least the first two were. Whereas, like, here's a level, it's slightly open, go out there, shoot some guys, get to the end, go forward. And then Exodus was like, what if it was, you know, whatever you want to call it. It was sort of a mix of multiple things. And while I liked Exodus, it didn't feel as smooth. And there were certainly entire sections where you feel the open worldness versus the prior two games. So I'd be okay if they were just, you know, if they, big levels would be great, but I don't necessarily need a base or a train. I mean, if they want to do it, that's fine. But I'm thinking, I feel for some reason like that is not what they're doing. I don't know if it's because of money. I don't know if it's because my brain is just telling me maybe it doesn't make sense for them to worry about even doing that. But on the other hand, you can have great stories with a base because then you have something to defend. You have something to worry about. Like you can get all the way almost to the enemy. Oh, and they've gone back and attacked your base. Now you got to go back. You know what I mean? There's ways that you can pull and push the gamer that you absolutely can't if they don't have some solidified location where there's a threat there. So, yeah. I mean, and it also looks good. Like they just know how to make those games look good. I agree with you on the method, not the methodology, but the architecture and stuff like that. It's probably not even in my top 3 or 4, but for some reason, when done right, it went and smoothly. Which, let's just be honest, if you look at Ukrainian and Russian, you know, you get games coming from both that sort of have an overall style. Stalker, not as smooth. Open world, played, you know, enjoyably. There were some oddities there. The Metro games, though, have always been really slick, like really slick. And so, and then I also loved Atomic Heart. So you have like these 3. So I'm excited for that. Also, just because we don't need another Japanese game, you know, Japanese base. Like here's a Neo, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So it's cool to see now we've got your Western, sort of your Eastern, and then you know your block kind of look, and now you've got these 3 locations. And the more we get of those, somebody is gonna go, let's do something different. Serious Sam was announced. The new Serious Sam was announced a couple of weeks ago, and they love to go Egyptian with shooting, which other than a Call of Duty where you go in there to shoot up people, you don't really see that as often as I would like. I would actually like to see some other, I mean, obviously we got Indiana Jones, but that's not a shooter. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool, man. We have these different architectures I really do like. Now we need to figure out a way to get an Aztec shooter. Like, dressed in stone armor, riding a Jaguar. Fucking, dude, that'd be sweet.
It would.
Let's see.
I think Atomic Heart, though, it shines for me. I like that even more than Metro because of the futuristic.
Yeah, I knew where you were going.
You know?
Yeah,
because the mix of futuristic with the to me weird Russian style, because it's a different culture than mine.
Yeah,
that was very
striking.
Like
enticing.
And and they had some awesome designs, man. Dude, for some of the robots, some of the machinery, it was really good design on top of good gameplay. You know, the shooting felt good in the game, and you had that incredible looting system where you just slurp everything. That needs to be in way more games.
It was awesome. Yeah. I love the idea of just all 3 of them, dude. This is what's exciting to me, is like there's more choice in gaming than ever. And if you look at the sheer amounts of games, there's more amazing games than ever. And there's more shit because there's more games. But the choice of some of these locations are things that when I was a kid, you just would never have got because it just wouldn't have worked. I mean, Stalker 1 we got, admittedly, I lived through Stalker 1, which its release was cyberpunk level in how bad it was when it first released. I got to play White. What's the game with Voslo from The Mummy? He's a mercenary. White Gold, I believe, which was a pseudo Far Cry ripoff. I got to play its sequel as well. I believe those were called White Gold 1 and 2. Those were 15, 20 years ago. I'm Going In, which was, I believe, Mediterranean Eastern Bloc. I can't remember, but yeah, so we're getting all these, at least right now, we're getting all these ones that are in this specific area. And if we get that, I'm hoping that, other places come forward and we see those too. And like you said, futuristic does help. It does help. It does. It entices you. Those chicks, people will talk about sexuality and stuff. I just, other than like they got boobs, that wasn't even what like entices me. It was this feeling of slickness mixed with cumbersomeness that I like. It's steampunk, but it'd be like cyberpunk steampunk, the future, and then really far. And so you got this, like, everything's built on the backs of people, and it's like, no one cares about the individual. Okay, great. Everything looks stone and mortar. And then you have these slick robot looking things and, powers to suck stuff up and biotics that look like they're so far. And I love that. I think that's why I like Fallout, the split in Fallout, Atomic.
Yes.
And like 50s. I know those came at the same time, but obviously not to the level of that one. So yeah, it's so good. Let's see. Speaking of Exodus, have any of you played the new quest that was added for Stalker 2? No.
No, not yet. No, I haven't heard much. We were talking about it the other day, but DLC just doesn't get covered much. So it's also hard to track what the general sentiment is, Because Atomic Heart got 4 DLCs. I don't think I've heard anybody talking about it. Maybe in passing a little bit, but just I can't tell you if they're good or not because I haven't played them. I haven't really heard much about them.
For me, it was, the only reason I know is a couple people were basically choosing to go and play the game again for whatever reason and got through the 3 DLCs. So we got to see those. We got to see somebody play those, stream those. That was fun. And that's the only reason. Well, I only knew about 4 because they messaged me the day it came out and they were like, do you want to cover this? I'm all, dude, again, because they have a problem with this. The contact I had there was really good. They left. The new contacts are a little bit different. And I'm like, if you tell me early, I might even cover it day 1 without, I'm not needing it early. But it's like, it would be nice to have some kind of, like, what do you think I'm doing? You think I'm just waiting every morning and going like, hope I get an email? It's like, you have to plan something. I would have liked to have covered it. I covered the DLC for Dead Island 2. What was that DLC? It was like a sadomasochistic cult. Dead Island 2, can't remember, but it was actually enjoyable. And I love covering the DLC if I have the time, but it's hard to still be good at the game and, have that gap there. I think DLC is great too because almost nobody covers it. So if you do a video, you're going to get...
It's a good niche.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Debate Nate. What's up, bud? Everybody was saying a PlayStation and AC Creed Black Flag showcase was supposed to be yesterday. There was... What? Yeah, no, there's stuff going on. I'll say that, but I don't know anything about a showcase yesterday. That's interesting. No. I mean, we know it's coming out, right? Did they announce and then it leaked, right? Didn't Ubisoft accidentally post something this morning? Ubisoft now, because they posted something for Avatar, I believe, too. Or no, it was a remake of a game. And they were just like, it got posted on their Twitter account, It's like, whoops. Their Twitter account's been a tough one. Their Twitter account has boiled them up. Oh, I know what it was. Beyond Good and Evil, the remake. They hadn't told anybody, and I mean, we all knew, obviously, but then it was like, boom, and it popped out, and you're like, oh man, come on, like that sucks if your Twitter account's doing it. I have no clue. I don't get a chance to watch those guys, so I had no clue what they were talking about. But yeah. I'm not saying I would have heard. I probably would have heard, but I will say that they send a lot of emails. So, and we know we know something's coming. With a Ubisoft, let's talk about that for a second. So, Black Flag remake, remastered, resync. What do you want? What would cause you to return to an Assassin's Creed above and beyond just having the time? Okay. So it's not just having the time, because, those are pretty easily digestible games. Is there one that you liked, but there was something in it that you hated, and so you didn't play it? Would you not return because we know that it's still going to be a huge game, and the story, a lot of it will probably be the same, if not most of it. So it doesn't matter if the gameplay changes. Is there anything there that like makes you return to an Assassin's Creed game? Have you returned to any of their remakes? They've done a couple.
It's a good question. No, I don't. Okay, one sec.
The cat did something. Hang on, guys.
Get my damn cat out of the desk.
Anyway,
sorry.
No, that's all right.
I haven't gone to any remakes. No, I think it doesn't call to me too much, because although I liked it well enough as a game, I didn't complete it, but I played a decent amount of it. I didn't feel like I was really an assassin too much in that game.
Sure.
Which maybe is not needed. Now we've had other games where you're more of just a warrior or whatever, and those have been good, Valhalla and stuff. But I don't like pirates that much, and maybe that's a little weird.
Yeah. No,
it's not.
That makes sense.
Some pirate stuff is awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like Pirates of the Caribbean was great. There are things I really like in that genre, but overall, looking at it, I'm not jumping to go in and play. And I think naval combat is just kind of boring, because by definition, you're stuck within your ship. The biggest thing you can do is either steer or shoot your cannons. It just feels a bit limiting. We've had some good versions of that have been fun enough, like Odyssey and different games like that. But it's not enough for me to go and really get excited about it. Now, if they come out and do something super cool, I'm going to be there. But just like out of the gate, I'm not really... It's not a game that stuck with me, to put it that way, from all the franchise.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm reading up on their news here. It just says franchise update effectively turns one of the series' longest rumors into an official project. This is from Guru 3D that it popped up. Resynced in development, just says Ubisoft says that, let's see, blah, blah, blah. They've backed up that that Hex will be the next real one, and Hex is going to be it'll be quiet for a little longer, meaning they won't be showing stuff. Okay, so they won't be showing stuff for a little longer. So that's cool.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. So let's see. It's shown on the Ubisoft launcher. So that's how it leaked first, it was accidentally. Says it shows Edward in black and gold attire with a flaming pirate flag, battered ship, and stormy weather behind him. The banner text reads, Ubisoft Plus Premium subscribers, the opportunity to replay this classic swashbuckling adventure on day one. And they say it does appear to be a mistake. Yeah, I mean, dude, it happens.
Are you a big fan?
Black Flag was
of that game?
Black Flag was a weird game because in every way, shape, or form, I agree with you. Pirates of the Caribbean's awesome. Not a huge fan of not a huge fan of Pirates overall, but I'll definitely watch their stuff. Treasure Island, the cartoon, I believe, is the one with.
Sure.
I like that. I'm not as big of a fan of Pirates, but when I am, I usually really like it. weirdly enough. So like Gennaro stuff won't grab me, where maybe I'll watch a Gennaro Cyberpunk. But
Yeah.
Black Flag was for sure their point 5 of the new genre. It absolutely was. Go back and look. Its difference between the other ones and itself is directly the bones they built your Odyssey, or it is in all ways. Their movement style, how they adjusted stuff, how big they got, the overall way in which you explore are all much closer to these that we've got versus the older ones, where Mirage, even at times, even with the new system, feels older at times than Black Flag. It just, dude, in all honesty, I liked it, but it certainly did not grab me as much. I don't need it to be about, I don't need it to focus on this guy's an assassin. I'm okay with the lore around it. Like, almost like a game where you're not a Jedi. So that's how I treat the games, like a Valhalla, where I'm all right. So what they want to do is tell a story in the Assassin's Creed. They want to sort of get some lore out there. They want to, just, or a game out. Let's be honest. They want to get a game out. And it's okay to have a game where that guy is, that character is learning to become one, or it's prior and it's the building of one, or it's the side characters. I love it. No issue whatsoever with that. However, I just think Black Flag's the least in need of a remake. 3 is fucking rough. 3 is, dude, yep. 3 is like putting pebbles in your fucking underwear and trying to run timed miles. 3 is rough. I mean, no matter what you're doing, it feels like that game's fighting you. It feels like they had an idea and they just couldn't. Technically, they were one step too far in what they wanted to do with that game, and it just always feels like it never. It could have been so much slicker. I would like to see a 3 resync where they
is 3 Brotherhood.
No,
were those
I
different?
Loved Brotherhood. 3 is the one where you're in like colonial America and you start out as Edward,
oh.
right? I think you start out as Edward Kenway. And by the way, I was also a little frustrated because I liked him. And then you don't play him. You only play him for like a couple hours, or maybe not even a couple hours. But I started to like, I don't know what it was. It was his voice actor, I think. He had that gravitas, it's just like, and I liked him. And I was like, oh, then you're on a vessel, because they were already starting the pirate stuff or the boat stuff. And you're trying to figure out this little mystery that's going on. I was like, damn, I dig this guy. And then it's like, damn, bye. And now you're some whiny ass kid. So, yeah. But we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. I mean, I'll play it for review or not, because I like Assassin's Creed games overall. So I'm excited in that way. Starless, $5 super chat. Thank you very much for the super chats. They do keep the channel going, especially because it is just us. Used to be a huge fan of Far Cry, AC. Now have something like Ubisoft Permanent Burnout. What do you guys think of the creeping bloat over the years? I would say I'm opposite. But it did require some thought processes on game development. But I would say I'm opposite. Yeah. I would say, because I've never loved their games. I've liked their games, and their games have been enjoyable, but I'm still at 50% of ratings where I say, go get one of their games. But when they hit, and even when they don't, for example, 3 and 4 for Far Cry, I liked them, but they were sort of Gennaro. Like, you get somebody and you tell them 3 and 4, and a lot of people mix up which one you're talking about. 3 and 4 were very tonally, something about them, maybe the location, whatever. There was this tonal closeness, and yet cruising around in them, killing bad guys, more enjoyment than I get in a lot of games. Like, much more. I mean, a lot of games that maybe I enjoy at their peak more, but that's me.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I like to separate those two franchises, because even though they have similarities, my experience is very different. AC, I think ever since, like, well, maybe I've skipped a few here and there, but really most of them I've played and enjoyed, even if I didn't beat all of them necessarily. But I had a great time in almost all of them. And I feel like the recent ones I've just liked even more than the classic style. So to me, I think the latest one, the Shadows, is maybe up there with my favorite.
Gotcha.
So like Shadows Odyssey, and then maybe I would go to one of the more classic ones if I were to do a top 3. But that tells you, some of the recent ones are up there for me. So the trajectory, I think, is very healthy for that. Far Cry is a little more mixed because some I've liked a lot, but then others just I bounced off very, very hard. Like
me too.
Far Cry 6. Woo. Yeah, we talked about it. Dude. It didn't work out with the bad guy. They kind of underused him. And then that side one they did was like fun for a while, but I also bounced off really hard out of that. I forgot the name. It had like some side title to it.
What was it?
Far Cry.
Which? What was the?
It was like super colorful.
Blood Dragon?
No.
Oh, you liked that
maybe it'll
one.
Come back to me.
Yeah, you liked it. Was Far Cry 5.1 or 0.5?
Yes.
New Dawn. You're talking about New Dawn.
New Dawn, yes.
Yeah. You're talking about the graffiti one. Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Because I want you to continue. I don't like it any more than I did day one. However, it is still a cruisable game. I do want to give it its props because I rammed on that game fucking hard. It had a lot of issues that I had. Anyway, continue by all means. Continue. Sorry.
Well, no, that one is just an example of the mixed part where like some stuff I really enjoyed. I played it a good amount. So you would say I liked the game, but it's not a game I remember like super fondly or that I would return to. Whereas a game like Odyssey is up there with maybe some of my best memories of games.
Same.
So the highs are much higher for me with AC. That's kind of how I would put it. But I don't view this like bloat as a tendency. I think, yes, those games can have bloat. And we've seen it, like Valhalla for me had bloat. But I don't view it as like a tendency or a trend that's kind of going upward. I view it as like different games in this franchise will have different good and bad things. And sometimes, yes, the map mess is a bit too much for me as well. I would agree with that. But I just disagree that it's kind of getting worse over time. I feel like, for example, Shadows didn't do it.
That's what I was going to
point out. To me, that was a good balance.
I think before Shadows, there would have been a lot of hell thrown your way. But Mirage and Shadows, if we're talking about all the games, and we're not just cutting ones out, it was toned down and changed. So there is a thought process, and Syndicate was not bloated. But then I felt 3 was sort of bloated, and I definitely felt Black Flag was bloated. And I would say of all the games, because Black Flag didn't have some of the idiosyncrasies and changes that I like in the current ones, it felt more bloated to me. Now, Valhalla, here's what's weird. Valhalla is not as bloated as Odyssey. Somehow, though, Odyssey does not feel as bloated as Valhalla. Yeah. But the map mess thing, and I appreciate using that term. I saw actually somebody else just recently use it, and I was like, can I ask you something? Did you hear me say that? And they were like, yeah, I heard you say it like 19 years ago when you were talking about Ubisoft's map mess. And
yeah, exactly.
And I was like,
that's an ACG term right
that'll
there.
be the one thing I die and I'll be happy. The only thing I will add, and I would actually be happy. But I agree with you completely. Like, and that's and it also depends on how long you played them, because I played the crunchiness of 1. And while I liked it, when that game came out, it was still crunchy. And then you played 2, and I think Brotherhood was probably one of the slickest. Brotherhood's just, it's got me by the cojones, man. Brotherhood is something, dude, everything. And then Syndicate. So I have really weird high ones. Like, well, Brotherhood's probably not considered weird, but I would say Brotherhood, Syndicate. I liked Liberation because it was a port from a handheld, and I had not seen, there were not many that did that, and I liked the different protagonists, but it was not, it was, you can tell. And then Odyssey, Origins. Listen, I'm odd on that. Origins, there's parts I love about Origins, but a lot where I'm just like, man, I don't want to return to it.
Yeah.
And Valhalla I've returned to a bunch, and I didn't love that day one at all, but I sort of like that it's so big and there's so much stuff because it's easy to find something new if I'm just hanging out talking to you guys. And then Shadows cut down. Shadows is way cut down. And Shadows, I'm gonna be the odd man out there. I liked having two protagonists. It didn't do as much as I would have liked with it, but I like to be able to switch it up. And I liked both of them for whatever weird, oddities that they offered.
Yeah.
But I'm the guy who doesn't want every character to have everything. And I know a lot of people do. Neo 3 got dinged for that because Neo 3 made it so that the weapons, some weapons weren't available. And I was like, listen, it's one button to switch the class, guys. Like in the middle of a combo, basically, you're switching to this class that can use that weapon. But people are still very mad that and I get it. They're like, if it's a sword, why can't I pick it up? And I get that. Yeah, I mean, it's valid in us in reality. But it's not as valid in a game. So interesting discussion. We'll have to see how it all goes, but I'm excited. I mean, dude, I'll check it out. Looks like a lot of people liking Far Cry Primal. I heard somebody say something about without the HUD. Appreciate the no-HUD gang. The no-HUD gang. If you don't know what we're talking about, turn the HUD off or turn parts of it off as you play a Far Cry game, just bits. You don't have to turn it off all at once. And I am telling you, Primal may be one of the best experiences with no HUD I've ever had. And it's up there in like, if you said, what are your best times as a gamer? That's the thing. I don't want to admit this because the reviews don't bear it out numbers-wise. Ubisoft has some of my highest longevity enjoyment of all the companies because Division 1 and 2 are up there. And it's weird because it's like maybe they don't release great or so, which we know that that's what happens. But I would agree with you that like even like New Dawn, even though you like it more than I do, it's a cruisable game. And you find yourself cruising through their games going like, I get all the complaints because I have them. But they're the complaints seem to be infinitely easier to get over for me than some other games where I'll have a complaint and I'll be like, I can't get over this.
Right.
This doesn't feel like something that I want to jump into. Very weird situation. You could have we'll move on, but you could have an entire video about that. So Black Flag coming out. I like Primal. Games with animal taming are a soft spot. Calling it a good game is a choice. KK Blaze. It's a great game. Yeah, calling it a good game. I hate those people. Got to call it one of the most amazing games ever made in history by any company ever who has existed. Or we're not friends. I'm just joking. Starless
I like
says,
that theme.
Can I point something out real quick? And then
go for it.
Starless says, I started playing these games when I was 20. Now I'm 41. So no doubt it's me as well.
It is crazy.
Yeah, we all have that for sure. Absolutely understand. Sorry, what were you going to say? That's fun.
I like that theme. You always, well, not always, but like sometimes you bring up that theme of like, you don't mind being limited in a way where you don't have access to maybe all the skill trees or, all the different things. And that speaks a lot to me because I often feel like that limiting actually opens up more creativity because it gives you a more secluded playground as opposed to the whole world. And I'm trying to like draw a metaphor so I can kind of explain what I mean. Like, for example, one thing that guitarists do sometimes is they will throw out a challenge where they say, create for me a song or a riff only in these 4 frets. So instead of having the full fretboard, you now only have access to these 4 frets. And as much as that sounds limiting, it actually, instead of stifling your creativity, it actually kind of gives you different ideas, different creativity that you didn't have access to before, because now you're thinking in this frame, right? So there's a sense in which being limited sometimes, in a way, helps you be more creative.
Yeah.
Because not only it kind of points you in a direction you might not have gone in, but then it also kind of allows you to just experience things that otherwise you wouldn't have gone into. in a way.
And I think nobody wants a fucking buffet if it's 20 types of chicken. And what happens sometimes is if you get a bunch of choices, but they're all sword, or you get a bunch of choices, but they're all martial, at times for some people, they're like, well, I love to be able to do all this. Some of us are like, you know what? I'd actually rather have 3 weapons with a ton of moves. Or you can have a ton of weapons with a couple moves, or you can have a ton of weapons with a ton of moves. But there are times where you get those games with a ton of weapons and a ton of moves, and you're like, but why am I doing them all if the only 3 that hit reliably or that are whatever, or they're the ones that have the highest success rate? And then you get into the discussion of end game or the discussion of metagaming, where it's like, it's not just the game experience. And we see this with, like, you can go as far back as a Monopoly. You play a Monopoly game, you get good at it, and then at some point somebody will make a meta rule in their brain. They'll be like, well, I'm only going to buy, locations that are over $300, and I'm going to try to win that way if they're really good at it. So, even though you can't really be, you can be good at Monopoly, but you get my drift. There's a lot of RNG in Monopoly, but that's as far back. Like, I remember doing that with friends. So you definitely start adding on things. But yeah, I love limitations. I think that, fast travel. Sorry. I think that fast travel is misused, overused, and genuinely causes a lot of people to miss tonal clues, atmospheric clues, sound clues. And I got to see that firsthand in multiple games where I've reviewed a game and been like, every person in the Discord is going to have a hard time because their attention span is so low. They're not going to, and you'd have people standing in front of something and they're like, where do I go? And you can see it's right fucking there. Like, I'd be muted.
I've seen people fast traveling when they are literally inside of the, know?
Yeah.
But they still like look at the map and fast travel to the closest.
Yeah. Which, hey, it's like, everybody plays a certain way, but that does lead to a certain.
Yes, it leads to a certain type of experience.
Yeah.
And not only that, a lot of us don't have I don't know what to call it, but if the option is there, the path of least resistance is for you to just take the fast travel. Some people will choose to not do it and play in a more like immersive way.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will just take it because the option's there. While if you have the opposite, where it's a bit more limiting, you don't have as much fast travel, then that bit of friction sometimes can be interesting, can create more emergent moments. And, you do have to go for trips and get used to the path, to and from your base, that kind of stuff. Because I remember that I have great memories about like Red Dead 2, maybe even Crimson, when I'm like riding back to my hideout, because I know that really well. I know that surrounding really well because I'm always going to and from. I usually don't instantly fast travel from there. I like to kind of ride my way out. There's something about repetition legitimizing the fiction. I always say repetition legitimizes in music, and so here as well, because you're over and over, you're registering in your brain that that's your safe house. That is your, when you start to see the creek or whatever, you're already like, okay, I'm in my safe zone.
Yeah.
Something about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I like the travel back to bases. I think there's a tendency to go from dopamine to dopamine. And it's like
exactly
boss to boss to boss.
That is kind of your low state to process maybe the quest you just did or like something you went through. It's almost like shower thoughts,
Let's see. There are some people who complain that there's too much talking in Mass Effect, then say they're confused about what's happening in the game. Brother, I've sat there.
Yeah.
I've sat there for hours watching people do that. And I've been like, holy shit, man. Dude. And then I'm the person who just won't answer. And I've had people like, oh, is Carrick muted? I'm like, no, Carrick is frustrated. Straight up. I'm just like, I'm not gonna sit here and answer your questions on a game because you just don't want to, interact with the game. It's like, if you want to play the game, it's one thing. If you want to watch a video, just go watch a fucking video of it. Yeah. Moving on from there. So we got Pragmata, we got Black Flag Resync. we have replaced. Let's talk. Sort of talked about Cthulhu. I'm going to leave that one maybe till next week. It didn't review the greatest. Cthulhu, the Cosmic Abyss. It did have a lot of technical issues. I will say that there are some stuff that if you're a Cthulhu fan, I think it represents. It might be one of the best representations of a game that has you going against unknown factors. And its investigative system, while cumbersome, it was way more engaging than, Sinking City, or, Sinking City was pretty RNG, but like it just felt cool. I was reading every single thing. I was, and there's no combat in it. Be aware, it's not that kind of game, but it is long, which I thought was actually pretty nice. And boy, they go for it, man. They go for it. Like there's some crazy shit, and then there's like, we don't know. And you're like, why don't we know? And they're like, because it's unknowable. That's the Elder Gods, dumbass. If you see a toenail, you're going to go insane and shit yourself and run off into the darkness anyway. So some of this stuff, you sort of see the edge, It's like seeing a shadow and knowing something's there, but you can never see what's there. That game does a really good job with that. And it was creepy. I won't say it was scary, but I think for some people, if I'm saying it was creepy, they probably will think it's scary. So I will point that out, that it takes a little bit, for whatever reason, takes a little bit more for me. So I'm assuming some people might play that and go, oh, wow, that was actually pretty scary at this point or that point. So, yep, already talked about Metro. Fast travel in DD2 is a good implementation. Not too convenient, but still available if you want to make use of it. It's been a while since I've done DD, but I didn't really have too many issues with fast travel.
Oh, Dragon's Dogma. Yeah, the wagons. Yeah.
You mean fucking griffin bait?
Oh, dude. I've never seen wagons get attacked as much as...
did not. You know how some like animals, they'll be like, if these two animals, they'll be like a nature documentary, and they'll be like, if the lion and the tiger are in the same area, which they don't.
They were taught as kids, like, if you ever see that thing...
you need to take out Jimmy, man. Hatfield and McCoy's. One of those is the Hatfield and one's the McCoy's, because griffins will fuck up wagons.
They hate wagons,
dude, I would get on the wagon and I'd just see a shadow and be like, are you kidding me? And that fucking thing, he'd be like, son of a bitch. Oh, yeah. So I love that, though. I love the anarchy of that game, man. It was just so nice having that kind of anarchy and just not quite knowing where things were going to go. So fun, man.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't for everybody, and it certainly had its technical issues. And then The Witcher 3. This is from Witcher 3 devs. They say, we're deeply saddened to hear about the passing of Alexander Morton, the voice of the beloved Zoltan Chevet in The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings and Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. So he passed away.
Wow.
Very unfortunate. This is Automaton West. Talking to Japanese devs. Making it technically work and making it actually enjoyable as a game are different things. Japanese devs are weighing in on why retrofitting live service games with offline support is harder than gamers think. It's very hard. Yeah, I'm not making excuses for it. They're going to have to do it, but it's like, well, they're not going to have to. But some will just say, you can boot into it. It's going to run like shit or whatever and move on. But the developers we talked to were like, dude, seriously, our shard is across 100 servers. What exactly are we talking about here? But so right now, Japanese devs, I guess, are sort of talking about, the future and how to go about making games more available if they disappear. And here's the release date for Resynced, July 9th. Sorry, I did see that and I forgot.
Okay.
And then James Bond, man. Lana Del Rey. Did you hear the song?
Mm-hmm. I did. And? Yeah. I thought it was great. It's like high quality production. I was very impressed. Yeah. I didn't expect it for a game.
Oh, I see. You didn't, huh? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because it's a lot of money. But
yeah,
I will say, they seem to be handling the PR for this right. They covered that. That's, by the way, that's gold. Lana Del Rey isn't even in the gaming sphere. So it's not even like a Post Malone where you might wake up and go, oh, Post Malone's doing a song for Elden Ring. You'd be like, not so surprising. Lana Del Rey, who's, a lot of people consider her classically good at singing, or at least in that area to where, you know, she's special for a lot of people. It's like, boom, she's singing a song for a video game, which also lends a little credence to video games, because
It does.
you might
Yeah.
call her up and be like, we want you to do this. And she's like, dude, nerds do that. You know? I mean, I don't think they paid her as much as you would also see others getting paid. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I don't know how much money they have, but I bet you it wasn't James Bond movie kind of money.
Yeah, it's not like Hollywood.
Yeah. What was it? Madonna did Die Another Day, right? Or something like that. You know, that kind of money is probably outside of the realm. So, and I
wonder if that's like them deciding to spend more money and maybe going outside of the norm for that, for the PR, or if maybe she's excited to be a part of like something game.
Yeah.
You know, and that excites me because we see the trend of more actors and artists wanting to be involved in games. I think it's super cool. It's kind of becoming more of a cool thing. Whereas before, like you said, there was a little bit of not shame to it necessarily, but just kind of nerd stigma, I guess. Yeah. And now it's kind of cool to be a nerd in a way.
I mean, dude, we can't pretend also that there's not now a massive overflow between games and movies and how they're filmed with blue screens and mounts on your face. In the old days, you see a mount on a face in Uncharted and you're an actor. You're looking at that going, why isn't that just blue screened? It's like, oh, well, we have to capture their face, which only later now in movies are they doing, you know, and they don't even do it all the time in movies, but in games, you have to, you know, if you want good mocap, you usually capture their face with a big rig. It looks goofy, it looks nerdy, looks uncomfortable. And now we're starting to see more and more people like looking at it as and there's money to be involved. I don't know anything about this. I'm just saying it seems to me that maybe it was a little bit of both, because I just don't see the James Bond movie money being passed around in this from those guys who have notoriously had some financial difficulties in the past. So maybe there was a friend, you know, who was like, you know, she called up. Look at what happened with a lot of movies and a lot of video games where an actor will talk to their kid and go, should I do this? And they'll be like, Dad, what are you talking about? Of course, do that. So, you know, how many times have we heard that now? It seems like we're hearing it all the time, where somebody will ask their kids, you know, should I play in Marvel or should I do this? And the kid's like, dude, what are you talking about? Yeah, of course. You for sure should do that. What I was going to say was, weirdly enough, the top games for next month was that and Lego Batman. And on the same day, we also got a new video for Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight, which was the official Batcave dev diary. And then we got Lana Del Rey. She was singing to me personally. But yeah, it's cool to see, because we're not too far away, man. We're not too far away. And then Exodus yesterday released a stealth in action gameplay video. I don't know if you saw that. Dude, no. Exodus and The Expanse, right? Like, it's crazy year. Dude, I mean, I'm not saying they're both going to rock, but I'm saying there's some big shit coming out. IP and not IP. It is pretty crazy that also as a space lover, you know, I'm getting at least two third-person space, you know, like space games and that kind of stuff. Speaking of that, can you give me 1 second? I got to check an embargo on something. By the way, not something I just said. I got a timed thing, and I want to make sure.
While you're doing that, I'm checking out that stealth in action. People can find it on YouTube if they search Exodus gameplay stealth. Pretty cool. Nothing like groundbreaking, but it looks pretty enjoyable. It's funny, the guards have these masks that project exactly where they are looking. It's like those cone of detection. Vision cone? Yeah, but like completely visible, and that just seems like the dumbest thing. Why would you imagine the handicap if, as a guard, people can see exactly where you're looking, and your sight is so narrow that it's only in that cone. It doesn't go like peripheral.
Yeah, it doesn't go out like wearing a helmet.
Yeah. I know it's like just a gamified thing, right? For fun. That's fine. But it just kind of looks funny.
Okay, sorry about that. I just, as I'm talking here and I said the word Expanse, and by the way, it's not either one of those games, but there's another game that starts with an E, and my brain was like, did you miss Embargo? Okay. E for Embargo, baby. All right. Let's see some more news. Xbox First Look Metro. Okay, we saw that. I'm just trying to get through some of the news because people, the number one feedback we get, well, you always have somebody who's mad that we talk and joke around about movies and stuff, but overall, I don't fucking care. That's quite literally us. But the one thing we do get hit on is there'll be times where we're talking and a new thing pops up, and then we're like, oh, we didn't hit that because we were too busy talking. So I'm just trying to make sure that I go through this. And
what about Mouse PI?
It.
Did you
don't have any clue? Didn't get a chance
follow
to play
that or check that out?
Didn't get a chance to play it. Yeah. Did you? Are you
yeah. No, I haven't played it. I was watching Co playing it a little bit today, and it looked interesting. It has more. First of all, it has, I think, Troy Baker in it, and like
continue. I'm gonna let these gentlemen out.
Okay. And some pretty good voice acting that I was listening to, and they have like really cool ways of introducing everything. So it's not like super, how'd say, it is a lot about the gameplay, but it's also like a cool presentation layer, not just visually with the cartoon look, but yeah, the voices have been a surprising highlight there as well. And then the combat itself looks pretty good. It's in that sort of uncanny valley between the 2D and something a little bit beyond that. And there are times where the perception of depth is all over the place because of how it looks. So you kind of have to get used to that. But I think it looks pretty damn cool. The reviews have been quite solid overall as well. So it looks like a solid game to get into. I actually want to check how much it costs.
The reviews for it have been
right
pretty
now.
good. Okay, you do that while I'll read some of the chats.
Yeah.
Stephen Colbert asked his son if he should write Lord of the Rings side story. Yeah, that was so weird. Stephen Colbert. Like, is he a good writer of fiction? Like, I mean, I guess you could say everything he said on his talk show was fucking fiction. I just hate talk shows. People are going to think that means I'm right or left. I just don't like political talk shows ever because it always goes.
Yeah.
Fucking nuts. Mouse PI gives me Doom Eternal vibes with the way it plays.
Oof. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I wouldn't say so from my perception of it, but I haven't played it myself. I will say it's sitting at overwhelmingly positive on Steam.
It got amazing reviews, yeah.
Yep, it's about $30. Yeah, looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's cool to see, man. Like there's just a little bit of pretty much something.
It is.
It's crazy.
It's not actually Mickey Mouse, is it?
Yeah. Mickey Mouse is.
It is?
Well, I mean.
But it's not Mickey.
Is it like Mickey? No.
Right.
No. But
it just looks like.
Yeah. Because I think Mickey went into, what do you call it? Free IP, you know, where it's like public domain kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
I can see Carrick as a talk show host about gaming. I mean, technically, I feel like we're doing that right now. Except we have two talk shows.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go so far as to say it's like a talk show host and their co-host, because you don't just bounce off me, or at least we try not to, unless I overtalk you. But I mean, that's all we're doing right now. I feel like that's what we do, except we do have a tendency to not read the news as much. The idea of like reading down bullet points, like that was fine, but the idea of like everybody getting together and be like, okay, boom, let's go ahead and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think it's more about interesting shit going on that we'd like to cover.
Stephen Colbert is known for his knowledge, love, and lore of Lord of the Rings. Well, that's a weird one. So is every nerd I know of. But I wouldn't.
Yeah, he's not that
I wouldn't have
special.
him write it. Yes, it doesn't. But hey, it's who you know. Mouse PI is more akin to old school FPS games where you don't aim down the sight. You use a reticle. Movement is more a glide than a run.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes
Got a chance
sense.
to play it. But yeah, I mean, hey, people like it. It looks good to me. There's just a lot of stuff to cover. Speaking of covering, let's cover our bases here. If you get a chance, check out the Patreon. It does help, especially now with all of the shit going on YouTube. I think we're going to see more shit on YouTube coming up here very soon. It feels to me like they raised premium, I think, as well. So for this, what we do is we post this on Spotify. So if you have Spotify, you can always go there. But for patrons, we also post a, what do we call it? What is it? Ad-free. How do I do it? Ad-free audio version. There we go. We do an ad-free audio version for patrons as well at $3, 3 or 5.
And you get access to the Discord.
You get access to the Discord. Yeah. People
private voice chats.
And a lot of them. Like I will sell that. I will say that I'm in there, and you know, just don't quiz me all the time. Sometimes I'll be in there and it's just nice, quiet. So Carrick, tell me about blah blah blah, and you'll be like, oh man, I just sort of want to relax, right? But yeah,
people may not expect this because everyone who is like a bigger creator and has a Discord, they pretty much don't interact in their Discord, right? It's like it has a life of its own and it's community members talking to each other, but you're pretty much like on the regular there, talking to people, talking to new people.
Dude, I love it, man. I love it. I love it. We just got we got a UPS driver. We got two new drivers, which again, don't know why, and a new chef.
We've hacked into the
driver section
demographic.
Yeah, it's been so awesome. And to just, because people would be like, you know, what's it like running a channel? I'll be like, honestly, man, I'm pretty open about it. It's like anything, you know, it's pretty boring. It's a job boring as in, you know, it's not jet setting unless you're like a Jake Paul kind of thing, or you're one of those people who like tries to get the sort of the over the top kind of stuff. But I love talking to people and finding out like how they, like whether it's how they found the channel or something crazy. I mean, I remember one time talking to Zaxby and like it was the most fascinating conversation because his life was nothing like anybody else, you know, and you just get this data dump, and then because he likes Sims style stuff, and it's pretty rare that I find somebody who likes it as much as me. And so when Inzoi came out, it was just this bouncing back and forth of like, you know, these two nerds talking about Sims, because usually in chat it'll be like, hey man, what game do you like that you can shoot people? I'm just joking, it's not that bad, but you don't hear a lot of Sims lovers. Hey ACG, I just want to say thank you for being a man of the community and talking to us, even though I don't have the fun. Yeah, it's fine. You don't need the funds. Don't worry about it. I will say it, but it's never to you. So when I say join the patron and that it's tough for me, I understand it's tough for you. Some people it's not tough for. So I say jump in. It supports the channel. Or I'm going to do some, you know what I should do a sponsorship for? Those underwear that separate your junk that Simon Whistler always does the previews for. It's like your dick goes in one pocket and your balls go in the other. And I'm like, I'm too young, Simon, because my balls and my dick aren't separated that much. Like if they're in separate
they're
pockets,
not distended enough.
Yeah, I think it was Fighting Cowboy one time, and I still don't even know what he was talking about. Fighting Cowboy was saying he was on the toilet taking a dump and his balls hit the water. And I'm like, bro, go get that checked. Because at least for my toilet, you legitimately have like that much space. I'm like, if your balls are shaped like a ball bag
just
for
fully
bowling balls,
distended. Yeah, maximum.
Distended, you are in some dire straits, bro. And he was like, what? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. It might have been because he had a bidet and he was talking about something like that. I'm a huge Sims player, Robert says. Yeah, I love that. I love Enzo. I love those kind of games. I love the idea that we can jump in there. Got some cool questions, by the way. So most of these are from, we got some in the Discord, but we got some from Telegram. That must be a short toilet. Yeah. Or some long balls, right? Like it's brother, it's either or, you're not getting out of, sometimes you'll say something and you'll be like, I'm never getting out of this, like I walked into this. I feel like maybe he was posting and it was a bit of too much, a bit of TMI. And it was like afterwards, he was probably like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. All right, so let me grab these questions. Give me 1 second. Actually, while I'm doing this, because I'm having a hard time grabbing this, can you read a question from the Discordian?
Yeah, let me pull it up. Let's see what but another benefit, if you join the Patreon and the Discord, you can post questions to us on a weekly basis.
Or topics, because we're covering
topics.
2 or 3 topics.
And we do our best to get to everything.
Actually, I got mine. We'll do these first because I miss these a lot. So here's a cool one. Is Cowboy 85 years old? No, he's like 38 or something. I don't know. Roll. Let's see. This is, Riley. Competitive he's talking about, so I used a thing to separate what the subject matter is. Okay. Why are we still pretending portability is worth it if competitive shooters keep running worse on new hardware? Like, who is this actually for? So he's talking about Switch 2. There's a couple games that are like, I guess, there's Mario's or whatever, and they're competitive. It sounds like he's probably a 120 gamer, like a 120 FPS gamer kind of thing.
Right.
But as somebody who's played against 120 with 60, there is a difference, but it's so negligible. I've still been able to defeat people 120 or even 240. So I don't see that as much. If you're at 30, definitely see it more. And I get where you're coming from, but dude, it's a competitive shooter. If you're on the Switch playing a competitive shooter, you have an issue with space and pixel density, right?
Yeah.
So seeing something far away, like the head of somebody in a shooting game or whatever, that's got to be tough. Just size. So if that was running at 120, you would still have a pixel density issue at 7.
Yeah, that's not your biggest problem, is it? Like the whole interface, how you're interacting with the game is suboptimal.
That. Yeah, it's suboptimal.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not worth it, right? That's
yeah.
Okay. Next up, this is Metro Lover. He just says, do you think Metro is actually going to commit to a meaningful story this time, or is it just using dark themes as an aesthetic again?
Oh,
that's actually sort of fair. Well, maybe not fair.
I mean, they had
a story.
I felt like they had good
Exodus
story.
Did.
Yeah.
Exodus was, I mean, maybe not good as much as like trackable because of the way the bass and stuff. Maybe that helped.
Yeah. And not good in the sense that it's like a Chris Nolan movie with turns and plot twists. More like it's a really good vehicle to kind of keep the pacing going and everything. It works really well for what they do.
And honestly, I'm going to say this, regardless of which game it is and how this translates, gameplay is a part of the story in games, where it's just not in movies. Movies and books, there's no interactivity unless it's to choose your own adventure. I am listening to an amazing audio drama right now that's choose your own adventure.
Wait, how do you choose?
You literally go to the track. It'll just say go to track 3 if you choose
this.
Shit. Yeah. But it's like
that's
8
cool.
hours long. It's fucking awesome.
Wow.
And by the way, Castle, Nathan Fillion, and I believe Kelly Hu. I'm probably wrong on Kelly Hu, but I know Nathan Fillion did one for the Amazon devices, which was a full, I think it was the Stargazer universe, Star Traveler, but anyway, it was a futuristic world, and you could choose your own adventure through.
That's cool. I love that guy. He's great.
Yeah, dude. Talk about a nerd. Talking about a nerd with polls too. My God.
Yeah.
At what point does managing subscriptions become more annoying than just buying the games I actually care about? Well, when the cost difference is.
Specifically for games.
Yeah.
I find it easier than for shows.
Okay.
Because like for shows, you always end up having this weird overlap in a way that you have a collection of things you want to be watching, and there's no one service that's going to have all of them. So you always have to either make a compromise and not watch something you want to watch in order to save, right? And then cut that service, or you can end up in a situation where you're trying to cover all your bases, but now you have 4 or 5 different services, each of which you're watching like a percent of their content, so not getting that much value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for games, I don't know about you, I'm very deliberate about signing up for a service maybe for a month to play a specific game, and then I might be off it for months until there's something else interesting. I don't find having the same issue of just this plethora of services that I want to be subbed to. I'm kind of finding that it's maybe one at a time tops, if so.
I think ultimately I treat it way different, but I agree with everything you said. I do have 2. I've got Ubisoft's, I believe, but it also, there's some reasons that I can't go into that I have it that help me. There's some stuff that they can do, and there's some testing they do at times. So that's been more of a sort of a, I just ignore it. And then I've got Game Pass and I have PlayStation. I have turned on the PlayStation streaming service twice in my life. So I just saw the bill come up. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
However, I would say with a game versus a show and versus what you're talking about is, it doesn't matter. It's 400 games, like let's say 500 for some of the biggest services. I can parse those very easily and know that it's much more to drive me to play a game than watch a show. I can cruise a show and I can cruise a game I know, but I won't cruise a game I don't know. I'll dive into a game I don't know.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I find their value almost intrinsically high. But remember, when I started reviewing, I had rent in the actual review scheme. So you can tell where I come from. So it's not crazy to me as somebody who rents that a Game Pass service or at least Ubisoft service might be usable to me more than somebody else. I also, I think that colors a little bit about my ownership. Where, yes, I love to own stuff, but I also don't like to own stuff. I'll like it and then sell it. I'll be like, I've got a DVD of some video game, and I'll be like, what the fuck am I doing? Why do I have it? Because I'm not putting it in the system to play it 99% of the time, so I'll get rid of it. And but I'm making that choice, and it means I don't want that choice to go away for others. But I guess it's all about you, man. I had somebody a couple days ago say across all the service, there wasn't a single game they wanted to play, all the services. And I was like, okay, then you don't like games. Because if we're talking about all the services, come on.
Yep.
Indie games are on there too. So if you're one of those people that's like, you hate the man, they're on there. So this is another one about AAA. And I think they're talking about Mouse PI too. They say, why does it feel like games like that? Yeah, so they're talking about Mouse PI. Why does it feel like games like this need critical acclaim just to be noticed or covered, while mid AAA games sell anyway? I feel like that's fair.
I
don't
know if they sell like automatically.
Well, AAA, we know they don't now. Yeah, AAA.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, they don't now. So that is true. It is very easy to like pretend like they all do, and we now know the disaster minefield of the last like 6 years, or 7 years.
Because I think from both sides, from the AAA and the indie, there's this feeling of grass is greener on the other side, and it might go both ways. Where the AAA thinks that like the smaller studio just doesn't have as much to lose, maybe, or they can be a bit more adventurous with their ideas, what they do, and then the other way around.
Yeah,
I think ultimately, like, these bigger games do have a lot of like value built into them because of the high production. So just due to the sheer amount of like people working on it and graphics and stuff, like, even if the game itself is not amazing, a lot of times it will sell just because it looks good sometimes as well. or because it's a big world, or because it's a big whatever, that does sell to some extent.
Can we also mention the one thing that I don't know why people don't talk about it more, but it is so fascinating to me about how much of an issue this is. If you have 500 people working on your game, you have the possibility of 500 people talking about your game. It is much easier to get eyes on when random developers are just talking about working on a game, when they're updating on LinkedIn, when they're excited about getting a job and there's another 450 people connected to them. If you have 12 people, I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you use an AI. Your ability to consciously get people to talk about your game is just
your footprint is much smaller.
Footprint is much smaller. Yeah. And I see it all the time when I'll see somebody from like Activision post and it'll be like, 250 people from this company. And then I'll see a game that's smaller or whatever. And I'll be like, oh, that looks cool. Click on it. One person following this Twitter. And you'll be like, damn. Okay. So their footprint for the psychological part of it, without paying for PR. Like if you have an excited team, that's money, man. That's money. If you have an excited team, that's like having somebody come on your podcast. If they're excited and they post to their people.
They're posting about it. They're talking about it.
But this isn't a one-off. This is like 4 years of their lives. If you get that moving forward to where people are able to at least say, I'm working on it, it's quite literally SEO. It's just how SEO works. And I think it's not mentioned enough that it's not an unfairness at all. It's just literally the law of averages, and your average goes way up when that somebody's going to randomly be posting about your thing if more people are involved. Okay, so this one is about Book of Travel shutting down MMO mode. How am I supposed to invest time into online games anymore if even niche MMOs are quietly giving up and pivoting? Dude, yeah, this is like, man, I've been seeing a lot of games that are smaller not get any discussion on this, and I think that's fair, but I'm seeing a lot of people, like a lot of the smaller games shutting down too. Apparently they're pivoting maybe to single player. I don't know that game, Book of Travels. But it does feel like Luna, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Amazon Luna literally went from, let's say they were trying to hit 100% of the market, their changes in the last 2 weeks, 10%. And I don't mean, I mean 10% of they're only offering 10% of the service that you would expect, I guess is what I'm saying, where it looked like they were blossoming into 100. Amazon's very cut happy though. I've noticed with Amazon, man, because they cut the Forza, one of the Forza directors quit and went to work for Amazon Studios, and they just kiboshed that entire game too. Amazon seems very like, boom, shows.
It's not working.
It ain't
We're
working.
Done.
Yeah, we out. They're like the Google, where Google's got their dead apps page or whatever. There should be like dead developers page. People think EA is bad. I get it. Over the years it has been, but Amazon, for less years in video gaming, I feel like their amount of cuts is pretty goddamn high. Let's see. Another one about tech and Overwatch, I believe, is the game on the Switch that these people are talking about. Overwatch 2,
okay.
I guess. Is that true? Okay. All right. Sorry, buddy. I don't know. I've not tracked that's on the Switch 2. I had a dream last night. I bought a Switch 2, and when I turned it on, it was a hidden Xbox X inside. And I was so excited. I don't know why. I don't know what that dream means, but I turned it on and it booted to an Xbox, almost like a handheld, but it wasn't. It played Nintendo games, but it also played, maybe it's Prophecy, but it was a weird dream, and it didn't suck battery. So I was telling people in Discord, I was like, and it doesn't even, it lasts forever. It lasts like 18 hours. Like, I think they shipped it to me wrong. I remember trying to explain to people, and everybody was like, I don't understand.
How is this working?
Yeah. I was so mad, man. I was so mad. What else do we got from inside Discord?
So this first one from, by the way, Joar, one of our chatters, was telling me, I forgot to mention, I'm playing SnowRunner a little bit. Came back to that. It's true. I've been playing that.
Okay.
It's been great. Just wanted to honor that. And Kel says, is there a classic game that you never played, but you would happily dive into if an updated version were to be produced? Looking at you, Advent Rising.
Kel, man, my man. Advent Rising. Fuck, man. If there's any game
that's pretty old, isn't it?
It is, but it has a lot going for it. And one of them, though, is not its control or movement scheme. Its story is fantastic. It's got one of the worst control schemes you've ever. It's horrendous. It's fucking so weird because Kel wasn't in this discussion, but we talked about it for an hour. Day before yesterday, it was me and Jay and a couple others, and somebody brought up Advent Rising. I think it was Jay brought up Advent Rising, and it just exploded into it was Halo killers. All these games that were going to be Halo killers. Brute Force was on the Xbox. Fucking terrible game. Halo, it was going to be a Halo killer. We were talking about killers. And then somebody just whispered like Advent Rising. It's like, fuck you, man. Because Advent Rising I beat to my own shame and really liked, but it's horrendous. This is not hyperbole. It's one of the worst. It had a game contest involved to where they were tracking people's high scores and they had to cancel it because people couldn't even play it to get those it was bad. For me, it's the Ultima series. Oh, that's a good one. I was going to say WoW, but I played it. So that's not an answer, but when he said you've never played it, I don't want to use that as a cheat, but I would return to WoW big time if they updated it. What's a classic that I haven't played? What's a classic you haven't played? Like a classic. So that means like just top pinnacle games. See, I feel like I played most of them.
Right.
So I might go into AA.
See, I never played Super Mario, the Super Nintendo one.
Oh, Super Mario 64. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I mean, there've been not remakes of that, I think, but similar games that have come out that I could have jumped into. But I think a pure remake for one of those like super classic Mario games that grabbed the whole generation, I would be interested in playing.
Agreed. I would not have any issue whatsoever. I would in any way. I wouldn't even be like they need to make a sequel if they were like if they called it like Super Mario Switch and it was literally Super Mario 64 redone with all the graphics and and was I think that game gameplay wise still holds up. Obviously it does, I think, just from what we see with speedrunners and people still really enjoying the gameplay. It's probably one of maybe 4, 5, we'll say 5. One of 5 games in all of history that I can say I can't break down to the point to where I would say that that's not true. I think it's very rare to get a game like, and by the way, I'm not a Mario lover at all, but when I look at that and I see it, and I played a little bit, I'm like, dude,
staple of a generation.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, that game is, yeah, it's ridiculous. Black and White is what Wild Ones Gaming says. Black and White was great. I did play it. I don't know if I have an answer. If there's like I'll continue trying to think about it, but I don't know if I have an answer for that. That's a.
Did you play Mega Man? Those kind of older ones, the Mega Man.
I played a couple. I was like never a Mega Man fan. Not nearly as much as Mega Man fans are. Mega Man fans are Mega Man fans. Yeah, I was never could gravitate towards it. Good question though. So listen to this. Why adapt Bloodborne into a film instead of just making another game? Does that mean they don't know how to follow up? So we know that they've tried to make Bloodborne many times and just couldn't come to an agreement. So that answers that. However, this was some interesting news, dude. A Bloodborne movie is coming, and it's got Jacksepticeye as a producer. He went out to make sure people understood. I think I can't remember, but he's like, I'm not the director. I'm not this. He might be.
Yep.
He's not just a consultant. He's a step up. I think it's let me point this out. I actually think it's sort of smart to use Jack. I'm not saying the people who are making movies don't understand games, but a lot of times they don't. And I'm not saying he's like the perfect whatever, but obviously I think there's a very good chance he pushed it. And so
Yep.
it is very hard for me to say, and I have no issues with him. I actually, in fact, find him to be watchable versus a lot of people, that you're just like, he's just sort of a goofball. And I've watched him and been like, hey, seems to be genuinely pretty nice guy. I feel like it wouldn't be a thing without him, maybe. I don't know the history of it, but it sounds like why otherwise. So I got to give him sort of a shout out there and say, hey, that's cool.
Yeah. People can watch, some of his videos where he's talking about the project, and he's so invested, he's kind of all in on it, doing everything he can to make it the best thing possible. He's a massive Bloodborne fan. Like he talks about, he's got a tattoo
Bloodborne
and, so like, there's someone who loves the game is there to kind of push that project in the right direction. That's great. And I think one thing he sees that he talked about is how if a show hits a certain level, that then can blossom into other,
Yes.
crossover into games or into a movie or into a show, all this type of stuff. And that's part of why he wants this to succeed as much as he does as well, because he does want to see, more Bloodborne or just more stuff done around it. I think it's very smart. Now is a very good time for that with the recent successes we've been seeing for game shows and different things.
Can we also agree that that's all right, actually, but I think that I don't believe this, but I've definitely heard it from, I don't even want to say journalists, because journalists have video game websites now with videos, so they're a creator too. I think that that kind of split is just, it doesn't even make sense to like separate those anymore, except for maybe one or two people. But I've definitely heard at times that people don't feel like YouTubers have invested back into gaming, where I am not necessarily in agreement with that. I think that what they do is a feedback already. Coverage of the game. I think most of the time we're probably talking about the drama YouTubers with the big fucking bold letters and shit, right? Or, that kind of stuff. But it is sort of cool to see, and Markiplier is doing the horror movie. And, Markiplier has been huge into that. And I think that that's honestly pretty damned cool. And Ko's making a game. So, sometimes you get those people who you'll find out that they're involved with the game and you're like, okay, whatever, this guy plays
it's
shooters
just a name on the billboard,
It's with Jack, who happens to be a fan of a particular IP, and that particular IP is being made into a particular movie. I feel like that is way more apt.
That's like a force multiplier.
Yeah, it's more of a connection than just being like, I'm a YouTuber, I'm going to cover YouTube games. It just,
And I think what all of those three guys have in common is that they come across as being invested. They're all in on the project. It's not like they just kind of signed off on it. It does seem like they are putting a lot of their energy into making it work.
Absolutely.
That makes a difference.
Yep, I do too. Starless says, not a game, but I'll take what I can get at this point. Strider says, does anybody know who owns the rights? It is Sony who owns the rights. They went to From. They asked From a couple times, and From was just like, we don't want anybody to make Bloodborne, and this is the only time I've ever heard this. But Sony was like, okay, even if it's another dev, right, we don't want to burn a bridge, and we don't know if they'll ever come back. Maybe they will, so we're just going to hold off on it. So, that's why. Duncan says something. He says, did you see the Neo Geo AES announcement? Full working clone of the original console with those massive cartridges. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did see that this morning. It's pretty crazy. Here's another really good question. There's actually a couple of these. Why do expansions sometimes feel more mechanically interesting than the base game? Are devs holding ideas back intentionally? No. This is a good thought process, and it comes up a lot to where I'm like, oh, that sort of feels that way. It is not that way. And I can tell you why. You'll notice it pretty quickly. if you look at an expansion that's on a base game, using the base game and it merges in, intrinsically everything from the base game gets in there, and that's your base. That's why it's called the base game. And the expansion expands on it. And what happens is it's very easy to become accustomed to ignoring the base game mechanics because you've already played them, you've already blah, 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 and then you go into the expansion. The reason why this is usually meted out as a comment is because if you get expansions that for whatever reason they decide to not make the main game a part of it, those expansions usually, not all the time, but usually don't feel as like fleshed out as a full game. And you can tell right away. You're like, oh, okay, this sort of, you know, this, it is an expansion, does feel different. The only game I want to point out that doesn't feel this way, well, I still feel it feels this way, but not as much, is the newer Dying Light 2, The Beast. I would say The Beast feels, it still feels tighter than the main, but I think that one, because of how they made it and when they decided, hey, we're going to have to sort of rework this into a standalone. I think that's one of the few that could hold up to that argument. But I think that's just all of us because, dude, I've played games where it had 4 expansions. And when I play those expansions, I never once was like, oh, this expansion is more mechanically sound than the base game. It's like, oh, maybe it's got 3 mechanics versus the 20 the base game has. And those 3 might be more connected to that 4-hour experience. But that's my opinion. What about yours?
I would agree. I'm trying to think of some of like the best expansions I've played, and of course,
yeah,
that does include DLC, right? We're talking, or are expansions a different thing?
We'll call
altogether?
it expansions, meaning an expansion, not a sword, but like here's 6+ hours of a new location, new thing.
Yeah. So for example, Witcher 3 had great DLC, but I wouldn't say it had anything along the lines of new mechanics or better mechanics or anything.
It was
different than the base game. It was a cool story. You know, it was a great story. Poignant, contained, was great for that. Other games like, for example, Paradox games, they do a lot of expansions. For example, one of my favorites is Surviving Mars. You manage a colony in Mars. They have expansions. They're great. And they do add some cool interactions. But everything is still held together and carried by the fundamental mechanics of the base game that are fantastic. You know, and I would say the same for games like Darkest Dungeon, like roguelite games, where you might get an expansion later, but still what's carrying the game is that foundation. You know, the stuff on top can work incredibly well, but it never feels like that is some missing sauce. It always just feels like maybe more of the same or kind of enhancing stuff. Like what's a good example?
The Chosen,
maybe
for XCOM.
War of the Chosen,
XCOM 2 feels like
that became a different game.
It became a different game. And Phantom Liberty, you could say it did, but I don't agree. I think that was the 2.0 plus Phantom Liberty. For Cyberpunk.
Yes, I strongly believe that. And it had a good story, similar to Witcher. And it stands on its own because of that. But I think maybe one of the rare exceptions is XCOM 2, where it truly is a different game if you played with that expansion.
Yeah, and
but I think that's
like a spider web into that. Yeah, so do I. You know the movies where like somebody gets their head cut off and the blood goes down into some rune to summon a demon? That's Chosen. That's War of the Chosen, where it goes in and somehow it infects the rest of the base game, where a lot of times, in fact, you'll go to a new land and the monsters from the new land won't even go to the base game in a lot of expansions. So you're already sort of cut off. You know, you'll go, oh, get on a boat. Shivering Isles was that way. Get on a boat. But by the way, I think Shivering Isles is one of the best expansions ever, but still. Spanky Steve, $10 super chat. Thank you, as always, for the super chats, dudes. They do help. A few pods ago, you mentioned games that are enhanced by lore. That's how I felt about 2077 Cyberpunk. I bounced off it on my first playthrough, but found some lore videos. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, dude, I'm a big fan of extra lore videos. I admit I've got a couple little issues there, but I would say with lore videos, especially if somebody's just sort of like building and you look at Cyberpunk's been 25 years as an RPG. So it only makes sense that there's a ton of factual lore versus somebody saying the reason why the steps are blue is because it's and you're like, dude, how much of this are you just making the fuck up? And you'll see lore videos where they're all arguing. But true ones like Cyberpunk that's got that RPG lore, even if they change the world from the RPG Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3 is awesome. So I think that's awesome that you bounce back. Real quick, people were mentioning Assassin's Creed expansions. Yeah, there's something different. Assassin's Creed expansions are, listen, you can have whatever issues you want with Ubisoft, and Far Cry expansions we won't even mention. But whatever goes on with the expansion network that usually occurs in Assassin's Creed usually is fucking fantastic. Like,
yeah.
But many of them also do go to other locations when they're the most fantastic. Ragnarok, I really liked for Valhalla, other location. Totally different gameplay style, other location. You can't take it back. Assassin's Creed Atlantis, you know, there's some lore there, but it's like it's a place you go to and it doesn't like infect the world with its stuff.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah, I like that distinction because it is rare that it kind of seeps into the base game itself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too, because a lot of those, like when you talk to developers, they'll straight up just tell you, they'll be like, dude, do you know why this wasn't in the base game? Because it's not good enough to be in the base game. It's an expansion. It quite literally is not like we planned it for an expansion, not for the base game, because whatever the system was, it was like brought up and people were like, it's not good enough for a full base game, but for an expansion, mechanic expansion, that kind of stuff. You could say Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 with the metal smithing. Well, that was a weird expansion. Do you know the one I'm talking about? The smithing one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it did, but it didn't. It did in a very contained area. It did expand.
Potentially it could.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Potentially that one could, for sure. Blood Dragon was great. Yeah, Blood Dragon was awesome. Standalone, though. Blood Dragon is one of the few. Blood Dragon was also super short, and it's always easier to remember, you know, that kind of stuff. Because it's always easy to be like, oh, dude. Let's see.
One cool thing.
Go for it.
Just to speak to that question about the lore thing, one thing that I love is if it's a game I'm excited to play and it has some cool lore or like something there. For example, Cyberpunk had a big like illustration book that you could buy about, it was called The World of Cyberpunk. And it has all,
I've got it.
You know, all, yeah, exactly. So I got it too. And right before the game came out, I kind of read through that and I had in my mind some image of who's the character I'm going to create, almost like role playing. What brand would they like for their guns, for their bikes? You know, I kind of had like an image in my mind of what the character is I want to create. How is it that they're going to interact with these different things in the world? And even though the game didn't really use a lot of that, right? It doesn't matter what brands you were using or anything to that level. It was still, for me, it was cool because I had an internal kind of mapping of all these things in the world. So when I saw it in game, I thought, you know, to myself, that meant something. If I see the name of a brand or whatever.
Yeah.
And that can help sometimes, just having your own internal mind map of what the, you know.
You know how there's a game version of what you're talking about? Mass Effect with their glossary, and they had a guy reading it. Especially the first one, you'd click it and you'd be like, the Turian are blah, blah, blah. And I would listen to that, and every time I'd meet
just go to sleep with that. Just listen to.
Well, and that shows what we're talking about, how difficult it is to do in games. There's only one way to do it, and that's a glossary or a book. Now, I personally don't like the grift of books. I think it's actually one of the shadiest parts in gaming right now is like the big lore books that are made by the companies and sold on fake eBay pages that go back to them. That kind of shit. Oh, we're only making 150 of these. The 300 pages. It's $200 for the book, right? you're grifting people, that we should be able to point at that in the same way we pointed to microtransaction and be like, that's ridiculous and you're doing it on purpose, whatever. We don't. But do you know what I would love if that Cyberpunk book had been in the game as a glossary? They had a glossary and it was quite good. They or they maybe they called it an encyclopedia in that game, and a lot of games have a really good one. But there's a couple steps. I like Audible. If it's a fucking block of text, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's tough.
Hire
a game.
It's tough. It's tough. But if you have a good voiced, if you know, it doesn't have to be. It could be like Disco Elysium. They got that narrator with that really cool, like, you know. By the way, Pawnsmith, the guy who made Cyberpunk, if you listen to him, he sounds like the guy who plays the wolf in Underworld, just 15 registers lower than anybody else's voice known to man.
Yeah.
You're like, what is going on with that human's voice? It doesn't sound like a person. Pawnsmith is that way. So I personally think that it would go a long ways towards some of us getting more excitement. And some of us is the same way music only hits some of us. So I know I'm talking to a filter, but I would kill for that RPG book to be in a game, because I've read through it twice, I think, maybe 3 times. But when I say read through it, I mean the first time word for word, second time scan, third time plot, bounce around. But if that shit was in the game, I listened to the Mass Effect lore guy so many times I can't even describe it. And then it becomes a part of the game. So when you meet a character in the game, a race, your brain has much more than just these small snippets that the game can deliver via barks, via a guy going Turian or dicks or whatever. And you're like, okay, noted. This guy doesn't like Turians. They might be dicks. But if you read all their history, you feel like Shepard makes more sense. Because how many times have you played a game where you're like, Crimson Desert, perfect example. 80% of Crimson Desert, you're like, how the fuck does this guy not know what wine is? Like, how does he not know what a duck is? How does he not know? So having some of that kind of stuff, maybe not in that game, but in normal games where the main character is supposed to know this stuff, you have another way for the player to know it that isn't just writing, it would be awesome. And I understand that costs more money. That's just me wishing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be fine with AI reading it, but nobody.
I was gonna say that exactly.
Or a synth voice.
I know that's
if we don't want to say
synth
AI.
Voice.
Yeah.
I know it's controversial, but if the options are have no voice or have it voiced by an AI, I want the AI.
Who's paid for by, or like,
Sure, it could be a model you pay for, right? Or like something like that. But I'm simply okay with that at this point. Actually, if the options are I have nothing or something AI generated, that sounds pretty good, Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and we're getting to the point now to where, you're seeing a lot of companies put their foot down, and you're seeing a lot of tech go past their feet already.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been showing you guys stuff where I'm like, man, we are in for like some weird, like you just can't put your foot down on some of this stuff. And especially when you hear bad voice acting in the majority of games. By the way, I'm not saying replace those people. I'm saying, but when the first thing is like, but it's bad, it's like the stuff you're hearing is the stuff I'm hearing is not. So like, what are we going to do? I would love if somebody, I think not the finals. What's the game? The finals, Arc Raiders. I know they got real voices now, so which all power to them. But they paid whatever the voice actors money. That's probably your minimum step going into the future. What I mean by that is if a company wants to do it at all, that's going to be your minimum step, is go with a person that and say, hey, do you want to do this? Or give them the option. Do you want the studio time? Do you want to do it? Because if you do, we'll do that too, and we would love for you to do that. Or do you just want us? James Earl Jones sold his voice, I believe, right?
Did he?
I'm pretty sure James Earl Jones sold his voice. It's just that his kids and kids are the only ones who can make money from it, or something. Like it's a trust.
Okay,
if I remember right. Yeah, but
I mean, imagine the gift to humanity if we can retain some of these amazing voices for people who have passed, right?
Yeah.
but we can still, hear that guy's voice in maybe a new video game. Imagine how cool. And this is controversial even for me. I'm a bit conflicted in this because on one hand,
Dude, I live on my voice.
yeah, right.
You play on your fingers and your own artistic ability. There's not I mean, I've got stake in the game and so do you. I have people copying me on YouTube and I'm still saying,
Yeah.
Wouldn't
you want, if someone can have Carrick voicing the glossary in a game,
What's up, bitches?
Yeah, and
Turians are sort of dicks. I wouldn't be able to do a fucking
that's
script.
kind of cool, though.
It would be cool. Yeah.
I mean, for you, wouldn't it? To know that like some people can use your voice as.
Yeah, I firmly understand where everybody else's worry is, but because I'm not in like a guild or whatever, like a voice actor or voice actors guild or whatever, I am also have been ahead of the game tech for most of the time because I am reading and I'm like, you literally cannot put your foot down right now because entire industries are passing as you try to put your foot down. And then, so for example, now cloning I played something of an actor. Well, I don't know if I sent it to you, but I sent somebody a clone of a voice and I was like, dude, this is why we need to figure out what we're going to do ASAP. And they were like, did you send me the wrong one? I was all, no, that's the clone.
Yeah.
Imperceptible now. And by the way, this is my job. It's imperceptible. I can tell you right now. I mean, it's far beyond the people who are copying me on YouTube.
Oh, man.
So those kind of things are, it's time really, but yeah, we just have to see. Who knows? But for me personally, if you were to come to me and say, do you want to do it? I would rather do the voice myself. But if it was a ton of time and I wasn't able to, then I would have to look at I guess I would be sort of happy they asked me. Does that make sense? Because I've done voice acting. So like that part, especially for old mods where they needed a voice of like some warrior who was, this bad guy's got my shorts.
Darn
Whatever. I like doing it, but I know that technology's passed us by. And if you put your foot down, it'll continue. It's like quantum, where we've talked about quantum computing. First Nation who gets it cannot, by the sheer way in which technology advances, cannot be caught up with. Whoever gets that first, a usable thing to say crack, passwords or whatever, it is impossible because of the sheer power in which that jump is that you would be able to catch up. So, which is scary when you think about it. But moving on from there, good questions, by the way. I want to say thanks to everybody who sent in questions on Telegram or DMs. Do we have any others while you're looking for those, Johnny, in Discord? Let me read some of these. Yeah, I could hear Ponce talk lore and trivia forever. Dude's voice is legendary. I wish Marathon... This is... Wow, your name, buddy? Rella Sethavkarin, whatever. Sorry, man, I messed that up. I wish Marathon's codex was voiced because I'm just not reading all of that. LOL.
Yeah.
Exceptional sound design in general gets deeply ingrained in me. The id in Disco Elysium is one of the guys from the British band Sixth. Okay, didn't know that. James Earl Jones is in Fortnite already. All right, well, there you go. What do we got for Discordians? Anything amazing?
This one from Pillowcase. He says, what game are you most looking forward to for May? And do you think the Lego Batman title will do well, seeing how it's been since the last decent Batman title? Sorry, it's been a while since the last
That's a good point,
decent
right?
Batman.
I think Lego's got a lot of positivity behind it. I feel like Lego, whenever anybody talks to me about the May video now, they all brought up Lego. And even prior, they were like, are you going to put Lego? Are you doing a preview of Lego? It feels like Lego Batman is exactly what he said. It's been a while since a Batman. And they've stepped up the difficulty a bit. They've toned it down to like, here's 7 or 8 like main characters. Yeah, I would say Batman is one of the What
Also, Lego itself
itself
has had a big resurgence in the last few years.
Yeah.
Because they've veered away from the kids only sets towards the kind of licensed IP sets. So they got the big like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Batman sets kind of thing. And I think that all speaks to a more like adult audience.
Mm-hmm.
As well as the new game also speaking to more adult audiences with the like more involved combat and everything.
Yeah. What else do we got? By the way, while you're looking, I want to read this out. Pull-Up's Q4 financials report highlights Roadcraft as a major win for Focus Entertainment. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando and MIO Memories did not do as well and are considered sort of like faltering a bit. But it looks like Roadcraft absolutely. Dude, it reminds me of the discussion. I think I've talked to you about this. Hunter Call of the Wild. Hunter Call of the Wild, man. A hunting game is basically the major financial driver for that entire company. They released, I think it was starting of this year or maybe ending of last year where they were talking about their financials, that a hunting game is just absolutely making them the money to keep going.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's awesome, but it's
some
like
of these sim games.
Roadcraft is so,
like Snow Runner 2. They make so much with, there's a new DLC that came out.
I was just going to say they're so good with DLC.
Still going.
Snow Runners and Roadcraft both are starting. And then even Expeditions has some. And Mud Runners, I wouldn't doubt if they have some. Like they just, or look at the driving one, the Euro Truck Simulator and American Truck Simulator. They add a state at $19, which to me is probably well worth it, especially if you're a fan of that state or that drive or you live there. Dude, if you do that well, if you can deliver a title there, holy shit. And by the way, that's what happens with Hunter Call of the Wild. They release these massive locations to hunt. And people just, the numbers are never like super high, but they're just there. And those people are buying every one of them. And it makes such a good amount of sense to do it. What else do we got for questions? Sorry. We got excited about simulator game.
I think that's about it. I had some stuff that I picked up that we can discuss if you want.
Let's do it. Yeah,
the UK government is announcing £28.5 million fund for video game developers. So these are going to be grants that developers can sign up for, the different tiers and stuff that makes sense for different groups. But the idea is they're going to be pushing video game industry in general, trying to make the UK a prominent place for the industry, as well as like the games festival and different things that are going to come from that as well.
What is that? $2,500,000 grants, 14.
Yep.
14, 2.5 or whatever, right? Did I do my math right? No,
and
I did it.
I mean, that
wrong,
could be,
you know what I mean?
That could be game changing, for a studio, if they get something like that.
Especially if they're a tight unit
difference.
that probably already has some stuff. I don't know what the grant requirements are, but if you've got some stuff there and you're sort of prepped to go and you can show them and you can, those basically, I don't know if there's a requirement for output though, which I'm assuming there's probably not for those. I have no clue. But if you were able to get that and you were was a Mugenics style game where you're a smaller game, I wonder if they take into account how many people are working there too, because I don't know if that would be fair. Because I'm going to tell you right now, do you know something black-hearted you could do if it had to do with money? Put all your friends on your payroll. Sorry. I'm always thinking of ways to get stuff. I should take my own advice and do all these black-hearted deeds. I never do. But it's like the moment somebody talks about that, I'm like, dude, there's 19 ways to even if they announce it, those employees have to be there for 6 months. Fine. I'm doing it today. And I'm waiting 5 months, 31 days, and I'm putting in that fucking thing at midnight.
You,
and I'm
you will
saying,
figure out the system.
dude, I get my entire high school class to sign up. I'd be like, you're all employees, man. What are you getting paid? Chips. I'm going to send you a single small package of Doritos. You're on the payroll, you know? So that's cool.
It's cool that the government is helping with this, because I mean the default is just zero help, right, from the government.
Well, especially because
they don't have to.
It's just one small.
Yeah.
It's not like. Hopefully, we see that branch out to others, because usually that's how it happens. I think people.
Does the U.S. help at all?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think with
the U.S.
like games?
Dude,
industry?
the U.S. has all kinds of weird shit. There's even gurus, we'll call them. But people who've collected all the ideas of grants and like super low interest loans and stuff. Like there's all kinds of stuff. As bad as things can be, new business loans, tax like write-offs for stuff. You just have to know to ask, and many of us don't. Even I didn't. I mean, I had to get help. I'm not going to, I think I've said who, but I'm not going to. But there's a particular YouTuber that, you know, they've been on the podcast a couple times, and one day we stayed late and they were explaining what they did, and I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like I went backwards on this, even though I thought I knew. No one ever knows as much as they probably should, especially about taxes and about like how to get those breaks. And then I have an issue where I'm like, well, it's not technically this, so I'm not going to do that, and that's just money you're wasting. I think I told you this, but like when you're doing deductions, you do deductions for like a wire or whatever. And I thought I was highballing it. I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, it's probably not worth this much on deductions. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to do the automatic like computer identification deductions. And it was like 3 times what I had put in, because subconsciously I was like, well, I don't want to, you know, artificially increase this. And instead I was lowballing a great deal. So you got to, you know, take what you can get within measure. And never lie, and you probably do, you know, better than you would assume. But there's Japanese have grants, Australia's got some, UK now has one. I don't know if they're all like nation or how you would say it. Like, I don't know. I think some states have different stuff. For example, Oregon is big on liberal arts, so we probably have some foo-foo thing, you know. That's, I mean, I'm just guessing that we have something that's like, if you're an out of worker, if you're homeless out of work and you live near a fountain, here's a grant. Like, I'm not lying. There's some grants, because that's my prior job. We did a ton of grant work, and you'll be like, hey, we got a grant. And you're like, yeah, what are the requirements? You read it and be like, the fuck? That's like 6 people in all of America that would fit into that grant. Like, how the hell did that happen? So what else we got?
The other thing I saw, there were some numbers around the number of copies sold for Xbox games on PS5. And this is kind of interesting. So Starfield apparently sold around 140,000 copies on PS5. This is just the first week. So it's now bound to be more than that. For comparison, though, Forza Horizon 5 has sold 5.7 million copies.
Damn.
So it generated around $320 million in revenue.
And that counting Game Pass subscriptions? Because that's purchases.
No, that's just sales on PS5 is what it says.
Oh,
here.
Just on PS5? Jesus Christ.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, Forza's... Dude, it's weird because it can sneak up on you with like
how popular this thing is,
that
man.
is. Or in a lot of games where you or I'll mention numbers, and suddenly I'll be like, wait, what? That game did what? Yeah, that's crazy. Damn. Okay.
So Starfield a little behind in comparison. You know, 140,000 copies on PS5 the first week.
Dude, that's so probably behind for sure, but also because of like the sort of the technical issues they've had on the PS5 in particular, but also just sort of that's like the one last, I would say, big exclusive hurrah. That's the numbers I expected some of the others to sell. They've sold way better, but with Starfield, especially it being on PC already, it's not necessarily super surprising. I don't know what that turns out to be cash wise, but you see like Oblivion and stuff like that do well. Day and date dropped on all of them. You know, I wouldn't doubt.
So they said that overall across all platforms, Starfield cleared over $300 million in revenue. And they said that it was kind of like breaking even.
That's what I was just gonna. That's what I was doing. That's why I looked like I had to take a poop. I was doing the math.
Yeah, because it's a massive project.
It's a massive project, and 300 million. So interesting. So breaking even at 300 million, and when that started, I'm just trying to see what Elder Scrolls is going to cost.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Oof.
I'm gonna let this dog in. Continue. It'll just take one.
Okay, go for it. But yeah, that comparison is just nuts. So across all platforms, Starfield has generated less money than Forza Horizon 5 has generated on PS5 alone.
Yeah.
If I'm reading this correctly, that's a crazy amount of sales.
It also doesn't include again, Game Pass, because it's impossible to figure out who bought it for what. But I guess with Forza being an easy to get into racing game, I do expect the open world racing games to do better than like a sci-fi NASA punk. But I'm sure Bethesda would have liked to have seen that do better. But I don't really know what break even means for them. I mean, we all know what break even means. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know. They have been pretty clear that it's going to continue in some manner. I don't know how they would like bounce that back and do well, but I feel like a lot of people are waiting for that. I don't know what you would want from that game other than lack of loading screens at all. I think that that would be a thing. Yeah. Maybe a POI. This new DLC does adjust POIs, but if you had points of interest, so the random stuff that you see, but it just doesn't have and it never was gonna, but I think it's doing worse, but it's just never gonna have the cling of the Elder Scrolls. It's just not. And Fallout took, a bunch of games to get where it is. So it's like, I guess my hope is that if Bethesda sees that doesn't mean they wouldn't try to continue on, because I would like them. I mean, I'm looking forward to Elder Scrolls, but I gotta tell you, I'm also celebrating they did a different IP, And you'll hear people say, we want companies to do new IPs. And you're like, well, this company did this. Well, I don't like that, so now I don't want them to do new IPs. I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's like, I sort of do want both, and I love that we're getting both. But I hope it doesn't cause them to like shy away and we just get, Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I would hate for them. I would hate for it to be the takeaway that new IPs aren't a good idea or fit for them, because I think a lot of interesting stuff will come from that. And I think Starfield is overall like a really cool project.
Yeah, definitely.
Some stuff, like for the gameplay, I complain about, but as an idea, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I even like there's not much I dislike about Starfield anymore. There was some stuff that I
like the term you said before, like the cruisable, or like you can cruise
cruise it
very like pleasantly. Yeah, you can cruise it. And there will be some stuff that's a bit annoying, but like overall, it's a pretty good experience.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I wasn't aware that was 2.5 years since Starfield came out. Damn. Yeah. They made 10 million they made 10 million in their first week on the PS5. Okay, that's a little bit different. When you hear that, you're like, okay, well, maybe that's not as bad as
Yeah.
Though, of course, you would want a new one. I also, I feel like Starfield is maybe because of the filter of it being a space NASA punk. I just feel like if you wanted to play that, you would have played it by now. I feel that way with a lot of games, though, that, you know, we've seen sell well when they go on whatever new platform from PlayStation, Xbox, or whatever. Well, that's not true. Actually, there has been some, and Sony's obviously shown that occasionally going to PC doesn't do well. There's been a lot of losses now that I think about it, actually, because Sony has had horrendous failures on the PC market that I wasn't expecting. Didn't sell near as well as I, you know, thought it was going to. And Microsoft has had them. Nintendo, you know, Nintendo doesn't have them because they never do it. Nintendo's the only company batting 100 or 500. Sorry. Norway is hell. Is Microsoft going back to long-term? Oh, no way in hell is Microsoft going back to long-term exclusivity. They for sure are going to have long-term exclusivity on some games, for sure. Matter of fact, I think we need to gear up for nothing making sense in the next couple years.
Why?
Because nothing makes sense. Dude,
expand on that.
Okay. Plans that were originally made for the new consoles were made just like the Steam machine were made prior to the RAM issue. That's one particular thing.
Yeah.
Completely changing companies' ideas of how are they going to sell, who you're going to sell to. Are you going to aim? I know one company that is now not doing a PC port because they don't know where PC is going to sell, whatever. So they're doing console first. And then you have other companies leaving console and doing all of them. Or not leaving console, sorry, doubling up, doing console and Steam. And then you have some other companies who are looking at, like, let's just do a PC port. And you have other companies delaying for a full year because they're hoping RAM prices go down. That is one thing. That doesn't include a worldwide recession. It doesn't include multiple wars. It doesn't include the Chinese tariffs. Completely separate, by the way. Dude, it is a weird world. It doesn't include handhelds, which were exploding and aren't now for one reason, the RAM shortage. So at the time, dude, think about it this way. Steam machines at the old price, Steam Machine 2, the old price, let's say the old price without the RAM increase, it was looking to capture a bunch of people. I feel it couldn't be a worse time for them. In particular, them, because they've announced specs. And those specs were not great day one, let alone now at this increased price. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, things are just all over the place. They're just all over the place. And companies, even who weren't going to do games, are now looking at, you know, doing games. For example, if you have a big IP on Amazon or Netflix do really well, like Demon Hunters or something. I'm not saying that I know anything about Demon Hunters. I'm literally saying if something does really well as a cartoon, you said it yourself, do a movie. You got Bloodborne becoming a movie. What does that mean? It's changing so fast that at least the people that we talk to, there is no line in the sand right now for what they're doing. It's like a piece by piece, point by point look at every it's not take a chance as much as it is try to minimize like the chance of a big failure. And that used to be go for the general audience. And now we have two huge failures in that spot, including the game for Sony. Can't remember the name of it. I've already forgot. Concord. And you have High Guard, two, you know, games.
Yeah.
And then you see Tencent. Tencent, you know, they've got all the money in the world. And High Guard was Tencent. And they cut that. Tencent cut two other companies. Amazon just cut two companies. So.
But how do you think about the exclusivity piece combining with this? Is it being influenced by this?
Yeah, it's being influenced by like patches.
Chaotic situation.
Do you want to do patches for three companies? So let me give you an example of how much of a spider web this is. Crossplay. Crossplay is now becoming sort of expected. What does crossplay mean? If you want good crossplay, it means 3 patches delivered at the exact same time across 3 certifications, 2 of them on console, 1 on Steam. We'll say Steam, but Epic Steam. That's just one. That's just the patch. That's not even the game.
Yep.
You have to make sure that every single setup, now you've got PC, so you got 1,500 configurations. Then you've got your consoles. You have 4, right? Well, you minimum have 4. Let's say PlayStation 5. Let's say you stick to Xbox S, X, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro, and Switch if you do Switch 2, which a lot of companies are going to Switch 2 or want to if they can get them running. So if you want to do not exclusive, that does mean that you have to look at patches, which also means you have to look at expansions if you're doing those, which will also mean that they have to work on multiple machines, which will also mean they have to pass their certifications. It's ridiculous. Now, that doesn't mean you won't make it back. It doesn't at all. You could. Helldivers. Helldivers is a good example of a game that I wish had been day one on everything. I think it would have made sense to be day one on everything. It came out a year later, right, on Xbox. By the way, if you get a chance, can you look up how Helldivers 2 did on Xbox? I believe it did well. But if you get a chance, look it up.
Yep.
See, they don't understand anything about game development. It is very difficult for them. And there are people who spend weeks trying to decide how they're going to go about it and what they're going to offer. If you don't offer crossplay, you have a better, there's some leeway there. But you don't want to cut off an entire group if you're doing crossplay. Can you imagine that? Like Division's crossplay, and you're like, oh, PlayStation's not getting the patch for a month? Be ridiculous. So you have to double the staff. Yeah. How did it do?
That's crazy. So it sold around 926,000 copies in the first 6 days. This was back in August of 2025. Almost 1 million in the first 6 days. So it actually outperformed the PlayStation launch.
Yeah, that I knew there was something about the PlayStation launch. I think that's unfair as a comparison. Far be it from me to say what's fair for a big company, but the PlayStation had all kinds of technical issues. They had the account debacle. They had all these kind of problems. So it feels to me that, you know, there's a little bit of a salt and pepper kind of thing. They're both spices, but they do have distinctly different tastes. I think that situation was pretty different. And I think for Xbox, what they got was a far more established game like Starfield. They got a more established game, but with Helldivers in particular, you have a game that didn't launch with any of the issues like a Starfield did or even other games did. It had its own issues, but once they were sort of done and ready, that game just really was a thing. And it was 1 year, I believe, for Helldivers. Is that correct? 1 year? I think it was 1 year difference. So
people are saying we have no sound.
Oh, we have
I just checked and everything. I just checked. Everything seems good to me, but
people are saying, or one person saying?
Yeah, some people are saying that in chat.
Hey, $2 super chat for having no sound. We got, he's saying we got no audio. Are we back? Sound fine? Everybody else is saying we sound fine? Okay.
Yeah, on my side, it's fine. It might have been a temporary problem.
Oh, you know what, though? I don't hear sound on our... Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Weird. YouTube.
We're good now, pretty sure.
But
YouTube.
So all I said was I hate everybody. I said something about the government and Epstein.
Something.
You guys missed some crazy
Helldivers.
Shit.
Yeah.
But no, anyway, long story short, I think we'll see a lot of companies do it, but at least from what I'm hearing and just, I mean, by the way, this isn't, you don't even have to be like one of these rumor mongers. Just go to GDCs and watch a GDC, and developers talk about this all the time. They talk about the difficulty of deciding. And when a gamer will say, this is easy, just do it, which I'm guilty of, it's not easy. It's not. There's so many, just crossplay alone adds a absolute, as we joked about earlier, force multiplier for how difficult it is to put a game out on multiple systems. It's ridiculous. It's like, dude, that means twice as much staff for as long as we go. Maybe you could do a 1.5 if somebody, some people were really good and there's some
a whole other team.
Sort of
dedicated to that version.
And that team
Kind
doesn't
of.
have to be 200 people. It can just
Not
you
a
know,
full
yeah,
team,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, or you get the worst dreaded consequence of this, which is the occasional game where one platform does get something the other doesn't, and that can suck.
Oh, that
like
sucks so much.
I definitely, dude.
Yeah.
Or even in the same boat, I had Destiny on the 360, and one day they were just like, nope. Or what was it? Elite. Elite was on the Xbox, and they're just like, yeah, we're not doing Elite anymore. We're not updating it. So all the other platforms, I think all the others actually just PC, but they're getting updates, and the Xbox version stopped. And you're like, well, damn, man, you know, sort of sucks, especially if that was your primary, because to get back into the game you enjoy is another $500, and it's gone up. So maybe it was 400, now it's 500 or 600. So yeah, it's crazy.
Whew.
What else we got?
You had some topics as well. We talked about some of them. You had here Rockstar confirmed new data breach and later leak proves millions a week.
Proves millions of what?
Millions a week.
For which? Oh yeah, dude, this was crazy. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so listen, GTA got hacked, right? GTA. So first of all,
Right.
people were reporting its code. Fuck, man. Dude, maybe this is why I don't do articles, but it wasn't code. I fucking hate that. It wasn't code that they got. It was financial data, databases, stuff like that. It wasn't actual code, but what they did get was financials. And so they had the audacity to tell Rockstar, like, we want you to pay, I can't remember, 20 million, 40. Do you have to go outside again? He may be sick. You have 20 or 40 million dollars you have to pay us, some crazy amount. And Rockstar was like, nope. So they released the financials, which was millions of dollars a week on GTA 5. And Rockstar's stocks went up. $1 billion in total, their stocks went up. And I'm like, dude, I mean, talk about pie in the fucking face kind of moment. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, first of all, it's Rockstar. If there's anybody who is just a company of fucking lawyers, it's probably Rockstar. And they know how they're going to react to that. They just, fuck you. And it was so funny that it rose. Every single thing. It rose, by the way.
They actually made money.
They not only made money, they made like, the joke became, please hack us, and we'll just continue to let you release data, and they're going to be worth like $19 billion more by the time the game comes out. It was ridiculous. And I think
That's
technically,
amazing.
I would love to see more companies do that. I know that you don't want to get hacked. No one wants to get hacked. But they're hacking financials, and they think that that's going to bother a company who has been, investigations into handling of all kinds of stuff, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to react to that. They're not, like, it's Rockstar too. They're not going to react to anything. I mean, I just don't feel like Rockstar reacts to almost anything. They're just like.
What are they doing with GTA 5, by the way?
Keeping it.
Are they still like
online
making new content?
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, a ton. Yeah, there's always some, and they have, now listen, I'm not saying this is different than anybody else. They have the events and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
it's still
new
ongoing,
cars.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, it's ongoing enough that they're making, I can't remember if it was 10 million a day or $1 million a day, but I think it was 10 million a day, but I could be wrong on that. It was a lot. If it's $1 million
That's
a
an
day,
impossible
it's a lot.
number to process, dude.
Yeah. And I think we will all be like, hey, I don't like their micros, or hey, I don't like blah, blah, blah. I don't think anybody is saying that, but I think if I go them versus hackers, I'm going to go for them, because as a game company who's making games, employing people, I just think hacking is gross. And
dude,
especially
is GTA 5 the most profitable product ever or thing ever?
No. In fact, I think Minecraft is still above it or something. I just saw YouTube. Yeah, I just saw YouTube short, and it could be wrong, but I saw YouTube short. I had the audio off, but I was reading the subtitles, and they were talking about like the top 5 most profitable games, I believe. And I think it was below that still. Oh, yeah. Listen to this. Yeah. Thank you, Semic. He says, yeah, it's crazy amount of comparison. RDR2 is 500,000 a week. But that's not crazy. That's insane money. RDR2 with nothing going on. RDR2 is a fucking wasteland. RDR2 is basically the desert. I mean, it's not, but there's nothing going on. They're making 500,000. Do you know how many companies wish they made 500,000 total for like the year? I mean, because a lot of companies
that's
aren't
just
making
their
that
like collateral. It's just like reining
They're
in.
doing, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And they could make more if they put in more. They've decided, you know, that's a loss leader for them, which makes sense. But yeah, dude, no, it's, I mean, talk about, I think people are just done with the hacks. You know, back in the day, when you look at like hacking, Johnny, one thing you would always see is anti-hospital. And here's where I think everybody went wrong. For the longest time, you never, if you hacked a medical group, you gave them back your ransomware codes right away. And one hacker group didn't, and another hacker group hacked them and then gave the anti-ransomware codes back to the hospital. And it was celebrated, but I remember going, it was celebrated, but the company, the hacking group that did it still did it and still held until somebody hacked them, which was the beginning of the end. And now we're seeing state-run hackers. We're seeing, you know, the TP link. We're seeing many state-run, but a lot of just script kiddies using an LLM. And ransomware, you can literally download ransomware executables and send them to somebody. I mean, it's easy now. So the people who maybe in the past who were freaking, you know, phone freaks, where they were doing the old phone system hacks, those people are gone. They've been replaced by people who can do it without any thought. And they do so. And so the hospital stuff is happening, medical facilities, stuff that's super dangerous is being hacked. And I think the old days of Swordfish and the Matrix are sort of gone. At least for the groups that I talk to, even the young people, they're being hacked. And what used to be like, look at the plucky go-getter from War Games, Matthew Broderick's out here hacking the big baddie. Now people are like, no, man, because almost everybody's been hacked or a part of, have I been pwned or whatever, you know? And you get tired of it, man. You get just genuinely tired of it. And it quickly becomes those guys are now sort of the bad guys too. And it's definitely got there. And it did there with Rockstar because people were just celebrating. And they were like, I hope they don't give them any money. And I mean, what's it going to do? Are you going to find something in a computer? Like if there was something black-hearted, it would be like in personal emails or something like that, I guess. But for the most part, their stuff is out and about. I wonder what they do with GTA Online. They're keeping it. Yeah. They stated they will run both in parallel.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's insane. What else we got? Whoa.
Crazy.
You okay, buddy?
You had in here Crimson Desert boss design controversy.
We can sort of have this be the last discussion for a second, but you mentioned it, boss design. I saw it mentioned, there we go, as me having it written down before even talking to you. There's a ton of people who were very, very unhappy with the boss designs in Discord. And
are you a mentalist like that guy who gets the pin code for Joe Rogan?
Oh, for Joe Rogan? And me.
Yeah.
So when you look at like the boss design, in particular, it seems to crop up later as people play, which is typical. You know, you have somebody who's 8 hours in being like, I love it. How many bosses have you fought? One. You're like, all right, we'll wait for a while. I think difficulty has been a problem. A lot of people don't feel they're difficult. And then there's one or two that are highly difficult and they're having issues, right? So you've got this widespread number of users. And I was basically going to ask what you had already talked about. But I didn't ask you this, so we can continue to talk about, which is what exactly is good boss design? And would there be a way to fix some of the bosses that we see, in particular in Crimson Desert? Because I think another game that's lauded also had some great bosses, but some shitty ones, which is Expedition 33. Regardless of the love for it, there's some bosses in there where
I still remember the wind up, like chun 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 chun.
Listen, real quick, I got to let him out because he's puking everywhere. I'll be right back. But anyway, so I can hear you, but pick a boss that's early in Crimson Desert What was their issue, and what do you think would make that boss have been better?
Okay.
And a good deal.
I think I have a good example to frame the discussion. So there's this one flying boss pretty early in the game where it's this kind of flying bodiless thing, and you as the player have to basically like jump, hover in the air. There's a current that kind of pushes you up, and you're supposed to like hover in the air and slide into this boss and hit it with your force thing. It's that push, the big hoo.
Yeah, I know.
thing you do.
I know the exact fucking boss you're talking about.
You have to do that. Now, that's a pretty accurate requirement. Like you know, your spacing needs to be correct. You need to be quite precisely in the hitbox for it to connect and to work. And the fact is, the game is just not that precise mechanically at all, with your movement, with your attacks, with the aiming at times. So the requirement is kind of off kilter. It's not in sync with the lax responsiveness of the game, if that makes sense. So they have like a strict mechanical requirement where the actual fundamentals of the game don't equip you with good tools to match it. If that kind of makes sense. That's the way I view it. That's the consistent problem that I've seen with these bosses, is that a lot of them have this, maybe it's a tight window for you to dodge or parry or whatever, or it's this thing with the flying and the spacing that's kind of tricky. And I think a lot of people like me will be frustrated by that, because the feeling is I didn't die or miss because of like my skill level. I was actually hampered by the fundamental movement in the game being not very responsive. And it's not on me. It doesn't feel like the death is on me, which I think is a problem, you know, in these games. If you want to implement a difficult boss, I think a very basic requirement has to be that the player feels they have agency in the fight. That if they lose, it's because they made a mistake you can point to, not that they are just constantly being hampered by some of the limitations in the movement. Does that make sense to you? I don't know, because I said a lot of stuff there.
No, basically, especially for that boss, I didn't have too many. I'm going to tell you one boss that I was like, there's some definite real issues with this boss. But with the boss you're talking about in particular, basically what should have happened is as it flies to your right or left and you go up there, first of all, I think I told you this, we had the wrong instructions, which basically said run towards that boss, which kills you. You fall.
Right. Yeah.
So they fixed that for the release, which was nice. But there was some definite like, what the fuck from people. And also our save game started before the puzzle. So you had to do the entire puzzle again, and you had to do all the cutscenes again. So that was ridiculous. But for that one in particular, it just, honestly, the movement speed can't be double or triple what the camera twist speed is, especially if the camera twist speed's like on a default. So there's some movement issues there that, yeah, they could basically adjust that to feel like it's closer than what felt like when I played that was sort of this weird ass, uncomfortable, clumsy fight. For example, I beat that boss. It probably took me 3 times, and I beat that boss without knowing how I beat him. I mean, I knew how I beat him, but it was just weird how it occurred. It didn't feel like it was too much on me. It felt like it was just sort of, I got lucky with like aiming. So for example, I think they fly left or right. I think I aimed a little bit right. So when they started flying, I could hit them because their aiming system in that game is also a little hedgy. Mine, I'm just going to say he's in the quarry, or in a quarry you jump into and you fight a guy in some armor with some drills.
Yep. I remember that.
And that guy, I don't know if he's been patched, but that guy would hit you when you were like on his side, well away from weapons and stuff. I think that would do, I think collision detection in particular and not sucking you into an animation would be the start of fixing some of them. But I think in all honesty, that's sort of any game. I think when I look at the design of this, it is a world where you do have some mythical creatures for sure, but a lot of them are humans. A lot of, which by the way, I don't know if you remember, this was sort of brought up in Horizon Zero Dawn, where the enemies that were human never felt as good as the dinosaurs, ever. Their AI in Horizon Zero Dawn was a good 17 steps below the weird, amazing feel. And it didn't mean they couldn't kill you. It was difficult to kill you, but it wasn't good. It wasn't even saying that it's like, oh, you're an amazing human and these guys aren't. That's why you did it. It just didn't feel good. And at times, Crimson Desert's bosses don't feel good. But the big thing for me is just the bipedal design. There's a lot. I mean, and it's mythical enough that you sort of wish it wasn't. But even some of the mythical ones, which I'm not going to spoil anything, are bipedal in design. So there was one particular boss, I think you fought him in a northern area with some snow. The boss pops up and you're like, oh, awesome. Oh, it's just a giant bipedal ice guy. And the mysticism kind of feel of the game is not matched by the bosses, which weirdly enough, I think my other complaint in other games, somebody just got in a car wreck outside my house. Hopefully it wasn't into my car. I'm going to check. In many other games, there's a mundane feel to the world, and then the bosses are overt. In Crimson Desert, its boss is sort of a normal dude, which isn't, or many times feels like a normal dude, which isn't necessarily bad. It's just a little bland. And it can creep up on you in a game that's got 76 bosses. It's not just that they're the same. It's that there are so many that you can meet that you sort of are like, oh, is this going to be some new thing? And there's some that have unique designs, but a lot of them, the majority, are the same design. So, I mean, it is what it is. I agree with you. I think their control scheme is the way he moves is fine, but the game does not seem to understand you move that way. Does that make sense? So when you're in a boss fight, like in Dark Souls, Surge, Sekiro, I feel like maybe Neo 3 had this issue a couple times, but I feel like for the most part, those games, the characters move in a way to where it feels like it's from the same world. And there are times where I'm playing Crimson Desert where I'm like, it doesn't feel like they're in this world. It feels like they're from another game. Like they which I guess at times you could say the Phoenix, what were they called in God of War? You killed up Valkyries. There were times when you get, like, there were a couple tough, not a couple. There were, at least for me, I wasn't great at them.
Yeah, super tough.
Yes, and I think Kratos' big problem is he's stoved up exactly like Cliff is. Kratos turns like this versus a lot of games, if you watch close, they'll do this and then their hips. So you can aim over here already. The reticle moves faster. Yeah.
Less of a wind up.
So this is like Kratos and Cliff for the most part.
Yep.
Even though you can still aim over there, you can't do the target. You can't do you can do sort of targeting, but you still got to wait till everything gets there. And it's just a little slower. And it reminds me of Kratos at times. Yeah.
And honestly, it's the same for the rolling. The rolling is a big wind up for it to start.
It's a fat
and
roll
when bosses
all the time.
It is. It's a full fat roll. And when most bosses seem to operate under a different set of rules, like you said, it can be frustrating because they can, gap close very quickly at you. And your ability to dodge is just not very reliable.
Yeah.
So I understand some of the frustration alongside stuff like camera in those like enclosed spaces. If you ever fight in one of those, it's terrible. You're trying to get up, but you're chain stunned from the boss and like you can't see anything. You're trying to spam your food. Like you die, you come back with the thing, but now you're stuck in the corner. You still die again,
Yeah. Sean 813, £2 super chat. You're awesome. Thank you very much. We appreciate super chats as always. I definitely appreciate it. Hope you're having a good Friday. What were you saying, Johnny? Were you saying?
No, I mean, I like the fiction overall of the bosses. I think yes,
me too.
I wish there were more variety, more epic ones, but I just feel like something would need to be done, maybe relaxing the mechanical requirement on some of those, or giving you a bit more leniency with your dodging, or maybe make it a bit more responsive or something. I don't know. There's something there that's missing for me to feel good playing those boss encounters.
Yeah. Anderson says something I agree with. I felt every animation Cliff did in attack would result in the same hitbox going out. Like a stab or a kick or a slash or a spinning slash would all be the same invisible hitbox. So sort of just a different animation. So weirdly enough, that is for sure how so for example, I felt that way even with the force palm, where its aiming was off for hours for me. Holy shit. Dude, so its force palm is almost like diagonal or something, or maybe it's just angled. And dude, trying to get that without using the aim. After a while, I was just like, well, I'm going to have to use the aim button.
The accurate.
At least for a little bit.
The precise.
Yeah. And it's like he's headed one way, you look the other way, and if you were to attack after the movement is at least entered, your sword is going to go this way. With the fist, it didn't feel like that. It felt like you had to really be facing that way. And hey, that's just a part of the game. But yeah, I feel like the boss designs are, I enjoyed them, but I definitely feel like that's not the strength. I think that game's strength is definitely in the exploration. And gonna be honest, I think the game's strength may go away for people as they continue to play it, which is definitely what I've heard. It's sort of what I experienced as well. But that's okay because you can beat it well before you get done with it. You know what I mean? You don't have to hunt the bosses. You don't, and it's not a game that supports that in the way. In fact, it arbitrarily stops that in many ways, whether it be story or abilities. So, SZE 5003 says, hate force palm aiming. There is one section where you have to use it, but you have to be in focus mode. And I don't recall if that was something mentioned. Yeah. So there's also, I'm not going to spoil it. There's a couple doors you have to do that you're on a cliff and you have to do one and, it pushes you back, which by the way, listen, this is why it's a big deal that people understand that the game wasn't perfect, and that's okay. But they patched it. They were like, yeah, that's out of control, because people were showing them videos of them doing a force punch and flying like, I don't know exactly how they got the feedback, but we talked about it too. We were like, dude, this is just feels cumbersome. They went in, they were like, no, it's, sort of the way we want to do it. Within 2 days, they were like, all right, that's obviously not, the way to do things. Do you know what I think would have helped them? A beta or a one-day demo. Because I think they would have got this feedback of the tutorials, the way it gave you information, repeated tutorials, some things. Because, dude, I'll see people.
Early demo works really well for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even just maybe a boss. No. That would, there was one boss I think you could do as a tutorial, but I'm going to take that back and say that maybe one little region or little section where you can just fight some enemies. Something small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Demo could have helped. There's also a lack of buffering in your commands. So for example, if you press R1, you want to do a light attack. If you're in the middle of another animation, it won't register that you press the button. So what happens is, if you want to get your R1 as fast as possible, you actually need to spam it or maybe hold it. It's another option. What happens normally in games is that the input is buffered. So if I'm in the middle of a roll, for example, but I press R1, I know that my character is going to do the attack right after the rolling animation is done, for good or bad. That could be a mistake from me. But in this game, it's like your character needs to not be in the middle of anything for you to be able to start the attack.
Right. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it would have been
So
nice.
it's small stuff like that.
And they had the preview, and that was a demo of like 35 minutes, I think. So you could have easily just given people 35 minutes. I forgot there was a timed one. It was 30 or 45 that people got to play because I got invited. So you could have easily done that. But it is what it is. You know, I mean, the thing is just like most good games, they'll hold up under real scrutiny, like real issues. And every game's got real issues at some point. And that's the way this one is like, you know, I've heard people say, I haven't left what's that first place? Houdstain or whatever the fuck it's called. And they're 80 hours in, and I've asked them, like, because I got a DM from somebody who was like, dude, yeah, man, I'm 80 hours in. I haven't left this place. Ha ha ha. And I was like, okay. So let's say you stopped playing today. Hernan, thank you. What would you think of the game? And they were like, well, I wouldn't be happy. And I was like, interesting, because you chose to stay there that long. I'm assuming because of enjoying the game.
Yeah.
So it feels weird with that game in particular, that I'm noticing some Burnout that is completely player-based. So makes me wonder, you know, if they do DLC or whatever, how they're gonna, you know, where are you gonna put it? Are you gonna put it in that first place where somebody who has 120 hours and hasn't left that location? I mean, where are you gonna put that DLC? Where are you gonna have it unlock? What are you gonna do with bosses? Where are you gonna put them? It'll be interesting to see if they do anything. Most of their team is working on the next game, so I don't know what we'll get, if anything, but it'd be interesting to see. I had 120 hours before exploring past Hernand. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't finish, gave up fighting all the gold insects. Oh, yeah, those guys were tough. Well, not tough, but annoying. Did you get to the insects yet?
I think, yeah. I got to chapter 8. The stuff that grinds me the most is when you have to fight a ton of enemies on the field. Like one of the missions, I think in chapter 7 or something, you're having to retake a whole battlefield.
Yeah.
All right.
I just want to make sure. But yeah, to fight a bunch of people.
Yeah. And some other missions too,
and you
where you have to retake a territory, right? And yeah, you have to fight maybe 100 people in one go without exaggerating. And that doesn't feel good. Again, could be user error. Maybe I just don't have as many combos, but I got like 4 or 5 combos I'm using. And at some point that gets really old when you're killing the guy number 100 with the same like 1-2 punch, you know.
Yeah, it didn't bother me too much. I had a lot. Yeah, somebody mentioned the quarry, which is really early in the game, and if you don't know how to clear that really fast, because there's ways to clear it super fast. If you don't know that, you could be in there
this is why
hours.
I say it's user error as well, because I'm assuming I'm missing stuff that could make it
not
easier.
That one.
You know what I mean?
Not the quarry. They don't. I mean, well, okay. I take that back. 50% you, 50% the game. In that area, that's the most I'll say. There is some hints.
Okay, so there are extra things you can do to make it more manageable, which I'm assuming it's like stuff I missed and I didn't realize. Which then it's fair, you know, if the game offers those. But I think people who play naturally and they're not like looking stuff up, they likely will run into a similar thing that I felt into as well, which is just like fighting everybody and not really finding any other way around it.
At least it was fun though for that amount. So Flynn says with Crimson Desert, so many people have said after beating the story they were just done with the game. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't necessarily done with the game. There were a couple things I wanted to do, but I would say, yeah, I don't ever plan on return. I mean, I had a great time at times. Great. Like, damn, this is great.
Yeah.
Like top tier. And then there were times where I was like, and when I put it down, I realized, I was telling Absy, it definitely occurred when they nerfed the difficulty. Because I don't know if it was because I had been forced to be so cognizant of spacing and combos that bosses were butter. It was ridiculous. And once that difficulty went away, and I didn't need it to go away, I needed it to be a little bit fixed and patched up and a little buffered. That's all. But they did the food thing, then they did the health thing, and I was doing I mean, I was watching people do damage. And I was like, what the? Your weapon is like 2 levels below me, and you're like, what is going on? When they nerfed it, I was just, this is insane. And the healing was so much more powerful. And I don't think I'll ever return to it, but boy, I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna rue the time I spent in it.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
I think
for the most part.
I think for me, because the exploration is kind of the thing I really liked about it. The puzzles, actually, I enjoyed them a lot too. I do see myself returning to it because I can kind of focus on that quite easily. Since the combat is not that difficult as it is now, I can kind of jump in even without remembering the combos and stuff. I can kind of get by. So I do see myself going back and exploring some of the other regions I haven't been to yet.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I had my issues with it day one, and they patched them within 2-3 days. And I think I had a sweet spot where I was like, oh, they've sort of got this pretty close to right. Because it was sort of a mess day one. There was a lot. And if many hours into it, you were noticing a bunch. And then suddenly it was like, oh, this feels good. And then it was like, oh, no. And I do remember like that little sweet spot where I was like, oh, wow, they sort of hit it. And it doesn't have a lot of the idiosyncrasies. And then they do, they're doing, I guess, what you need to do. You sold to your hardcore day one, and then you're trying to get more and more people buying it. And they've done some crazy new patches, which I firmly believe in, adding skills to the secondary characters and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's awesome. This is Dark. He says, I'm at 10 stamina, 9 health, and I still get chunked on Damien. 300 hours in, I got to spam food. There isn't many options for resistance. By the way, the spamming food thing, that's real. I mean, I didn't have as many issues as you did, but I would tell you when reviewing that, it was like,
you ate a lot of jerky.
No, do you know what I mean? Well, yeah, but what I did was, I would say most of the time I found myself worrying less about what they were doing and more about my life bar. So meaning I was like going into fights and hitting people and looking down and going like, because
oh yeah, yeah,
and then just healing and defeating them by that, which was not the proper design. And did have some issues, and then they patched that up. So yeah, they'll continue to patch it. So, people are enjoying it. It's a great game. A lot of amazing games coming out. Before we wrap it up, do you have anything else you want to discuss?
No, that's it. I really have to pee. So best excuse to end the conversation.
All right. Actually, Johnny's got to pee, and I got to go. I hope you guys all enjoy your weekend. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for sticking by. If you got an extra $5 or I've saved you any money or maybe found a cool game, jump into the Discord. If not, tight for everybody.
Patreon
gang. If not, enjoy the rest of your week. Regardless, I still like you no matter what. I mean, I like Johnny too.
Take care, everybody.
If I can like Johnny, I can like anybody. Peace out, everybody.
True.
True.
Bye.
It's